So our boy snaps back to his senses, and he's standing in a school restroom of all places. First thing he lays eyes on, one of his classmates, who immediately goes full panic mode, throwing out excuses left and right. "I'm not a pervert, okay? I swear I wasn't spying on you. You were just standing there frozen, so I came to check on you." But Shan, yeah, he's not buying a single word of it. He grabs the guy by the shoulders and demands to know what the hell a school kid is doing inside a criminal hideout. Everyone around them starts whispering, totally convinced Shan has completely lost his mind. He tunes them all out and asks of all things what the date and time is. And the answer hits him like a freight truck. He's been sent back, nearly 10 years into the past, because you see, Shan isn't just some random student. In his past life, he was an elite special forces soldier, ruthless, precise, and fully dedicated to hunting down the worst criminals out there. But during one mission, targeting a powerful, rich bastard, yeah, the classic, everything went sideways. His own partner betrayed him, shot him in the back for money. And if you're already hooked on this revenge story, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. And now somehow he's back in his school days. He can't believe his ears, can't even believe his eyes when he catches his own reflection in the mirror. He slaps himself hard just to test whether this is some kind of dream. And when it finally sinks in that his dying wish actually came true, he smirks like a straight-up devil. He vows to hunt down every criminal he failed to stop before the regression, this time for good. Right then, a group of girls walks past, and his eyes lock onto one with striking purple hair. He's straight up staring, shameless blood rushing out of his nose as he mutters to himself. The girls just shake their heads and hurry off, writing him off as some idiot who gave himself a nosebleed, slapping himself and rambling nonsense. Jan clenches his fist because he remembers this exact day. This purple-haired girl, she's destined to be murdered in cold blood. And he swears that saving her will be the very first mission of his new life. So stick around and subscribe to follow Shan's hunt from the very beginning. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. He heads straight to the exact spot where the tragedy goes down. A few girls nearby are gossiping about someone spotting a pervert by the school gate, and our boy knows that creep is almost certainly the guy. He clears his throat and knocks to draw their attention. He strolls in carrying a big water can, same as he did before the regression, and rolls out the same old excuse. The water's out in the classroom building again, so he needs to borrow some. He quietly fills the can, but inside, total restlessness, his eyes keep flicking toward the bathroom, where the purple-haired girl is still in the shower. He checks the time and right on cue, a scream rips through the hallway. A girl shouts that there's a pervert peeking into the bathroom. Jan whips around and spots him. The filthy creep sprinting straight for the door, memories come flooding back. This was the moment that cursed his entire life. On April 12, 2015, a pervert slipped into the girl's bath. When the students saw him, they panicked and bolted, leaving her completely alone and unprotected. Shan remembers just standing there, frozen. Back then, he had a chance to act to stop all of it, but he was a coward. He crouched down, buried his face between his knees while the pervert forced his way inside, and that cowardice cost the girl everything. Harassment left her so shattered that she vanished from their lives completely. Rumors went around that she'd transferred, but no one ever saw her again. The world moved on, people forgot. Shan, though, could never erase it. The incident carved itself deep into his heart, taking the form of some kind of demon. While everyone else graduated in peace, he dropped out and chose the military, desperate to grow stronger so he'd never feel that powerless again. In that timeline, he claws his way into the special forces, where he gets punished over and over for breaking discipline. But no matter what they did, they couldn't crush the rage living inside him. He could never convince himself how evil people get to walk free after ruining other lives. Before long, he earns the title Lone Wolf and keeps on trying to rid the world of evil. Back in the present, Shan stands there staring down the pervert, fully intending to finally get his revenge. Normally, he'd march straight to young Master Chen Xiao to cut the evil off at the root. But first, he wants to fix a few of the regrets he carried out of his past life before the regression. Though he chooses violence to answer violence, hoisting up that heavy water can and smashing it into the pervert with everything he's got. The man crashes into the wall and screams that he'll kill whoever just hit him, but Shan's not done. He leaps over the girls and brings his boot straight down onto the perv's head from above. Turns out the creep's tougher than Shan expected, and that single blow isn't enough to put him down. He scrambles backward, which makes Shan realize just how much more training he's still got ahead of him. The perv lunges with a dagger, but Shan slips the slash like it's nothing. Then he grabs the guy's wrist and kicks his hand to force the knife loose, and slams him hard into the ground. Even after the perv goes down, he keeps wailing on the man's head like it's a punching bag or maybe a sack of fresh potatoes. 10 years have passed, but seeing this face still tears every old wound wide open. though he keeps swinging nonstop, trying to atone for the regrets of his past. The girl he just saved begs him to stop. She tells him that if he keeps beating the guy, he might actually kill him, and she doesn't want that. She thanks him for the save, but asks him to please look away since she's pretty embarrassed. Some time later, police cars swarm outside, and the officers haul the creep away in cuffs while he's still scrambling for excuses. The officer in charge turns to our hero and asks where he picked up those slick moves from earlier. Shan dodges the question, claiming he just learned them from movies. The officer doesn't buy that for a second, pointing out that no ordinary person could pull off skills like that. Then one of them tries to make a move on our boy, clearly fishing for some kind of reaction. Shan just fixes him with a cold, dead stare, and flatly reminds him that assaulting a civilian isn't exactly legal. The cop freezes mid-motion, realizing this kid is radiating a full-on killer aura. Just then, the purple-haired girl from earlier steps forward to defend Shan. She shoots him a little wink while the officer grumbles that none of this justifies treating a guy like a human punching bag. Sometime later, Jen finally makes it home and calls out to let everyone know he's back. His mom instantly flips into full yapping mode, scolding him for coming home so late, reminding him she'd been waiting with dinner on the table. She keeps going, complaining that he's turned into a total troublemaker while his dad just spoils him rotten and ignores every bad habit. Hearing all that, he suddenly calls out to her, voice cracking with emotion, and hugs her tight from behind, leaving her completely stunned. She panics a little, asking what's wrong, whether someone dared to bully him. Moments later, the two sit down to eat. She eyes him suspiciously, saying he's been acting strange and wondering if he's coming down with something. He reassures her that he's perfectly fine, and promises her with a dead serious look that he'll hang on her every word from now on. That instantly lights up her mood, and she tells him to just focus on school and land himself a stable job. Shan happily digs into his food, thinking about how much he actually missed her endless lectures all this time. Later in his room, he admits out loud that he truly missed these quiet, ordinary nights. It reflects that for most people, holding on to peace like this takes real effort. Yet evil scum can shatter it in a single instant. He pumps his fist in the air and declares that in this new life, he's going to help change the world and leave nothing behind to regret. The very next morning, one of the teachers openly praises him for everything he pulled off yesterday. And all the schoolgirls can't stop eyeing him like candy, whispering to each other about how insanely hot he looked while fighting. On his way to class, a chubby professor stops him too, telling him job well done, and adds that the principal wants to reward him. Shan looks gloomier than ever, thinking he never expected to blow up this much. He wonders if class might at least be peaceful, but the second he opens the door, the whole room erupts into chaos. Right away, a bald dude rushes over, gushing about him, claiming Shan looked just like a pro fighter. Shan offers to teach him a few moves, which hypes the guy up even more, while a blonde at the front quietly seethes. Snapping his pen clean in half, the blonde mutters that it was just a fight and Shan can quit showing off already. He slams a handout down on Shan's desk, but our boy doesn't even flinch, and calmly asks if something's bothering the class rep. The blonde smirks nastily and says that Shan never bothered turning in his English homework yesterday. Shan slides the folder forward and asks if he's a celebrity now since the class rep himself showed up just to collect it. His buddy swoons all over again, asking if he should start calling him master. Right then, a sharp tearing sound catches our hero completely off guard. The class rep had ripped Shan's entire homework folder clean in half, smugly stating that this doesn't count and that he wants it all written over again. All that hard work torn to bits. His fanboy has an absolute nuclear meltdown, demanding to know why the class rep ripped up the homework for literally no reason. But the rep just looks down on our boy and tells him to rewrite it 10 times before the day's over. That gets his loyal fanboy seriously fired up, but the rep's bodyguard quickly warns him to watch his tongue in front of the master. Our boy stands up straight and agrees to write it all again, on one condition: the class rep apologizes. The blonde brat demands to know why he'd ever do that, so our boy gets right in his face and tells him his trashy attitude seriously needs fixing. That pops a couple more blood vessels in the bodyguard's head, and the big man decides to dish out some punishment with those giant fists. But our boy just slides to the side and the man quickly realizes this kid is way too good at dodging punches. Right then, an innocent girl walks into the class and sees the huge guy barreling straight toward her. Turns out the punch he dodged is about to land right on her. Shan dashes in and yanks her out of the way before her face gets busted. He then asks the teary-eyed girl if she's okay, and she answers that his fist only barely grazed her little nose. That sends our boy into an absolute rage, and he climbs on top of the huge bodyguard, telling him that if his hand's gonna hit someone innocent, then he doesn't need that hand in the first place. And with that, he snaps it like a twig and leaves the cocky giant screaming bloody murder, howling in pain over what's basically a tiny joint dislocation. Boiling over with rage, the class rep grabs a table by the leg. But before he can even move, our hero pounces and grabs him firmly by the neck. He then proceeds to choke the life out of the fool before throwing one well-deserved punch. But right before he can finally dish out justice, a teacher stops Shan and asks if punching kids at school is his hot new hobby. The girl tells the teacher, who's actually the director of the disciplinary committee, that he was only trying to protect her. But the class rep just grins ear to ear as the director hauls Shan straight to his office. The man asks our boy if he's lost his mind, picking a fight with the Yang family's young master. When he asks why that's such a big deal, the man sadly explains that Tianli's father is so influential, even the principal makes a point of never stepping on his tail. While he gets that kids run hot in their youth, he advises our boy to just suck it up, write an apology letter, and act a little more civilized next time. Hearing that, Shan feels torn about having to grovel to corrupt trash and simply let it slide. But when he steps out of the director's office, he finds everyone gathered outside, cheering, roaring for him over teaching the scumbag a lesson. The girl from before even offers him a water bottle in thanks, smiling softly at her new crush. Seeing all that, the class rep and his bodyguard completely freak out over our boy getting popular again after a stunt like that. The bodyguard angrily asks the class rep if he's really just going to sit by, and offers to round up his homies and jump our boy after school. But the class rep tells him to simmer down because he moved too hastily before, and beating up your enemy is a low IQ play anyway. He lays it out plain: the world runs on money, and the ones who hold real power are the ones who get to make the rules. With that, he calls up his uncle for some legal advice, and asks the man the best way to get someone tossed into juvenile detention. Back in class, Shan's new buddy starts throwing high kicks and asks if he's doing it right. Shan tells him not to overextend unless he's looking to tear something. Right then, the purple-haired girl from before walks in and asks whether Shan belongs to this class. Every guy immediately starts drooling over how gorgeous she is, wondering how bro managed to land on her radar. His buddy elbows him hard, telling him to go talk to her already, but Shan just sits there, frozen. Outside the classroom, Lin wastes zero time and asks with absolutely no hesitation if he's free tonight. She slips him her father's business card and says the man wants to thank him in person, seeing the family name. Shan instantly recalls that Lin's father had been a rising figure before the rewind, only to mysteriously vanish for no reason later on. Taking the card, he calmly tells her to let her father know he was just fulfilling his natural duty as an alpha male. Walking off, he adds that Colonel Lin shouldn't stress over such trivial matters. Back in class, his buddy bombards him with questions, and Shan jokes that Colonel Lin proposed to marry off his daughter to him. Before the room can settle, a student shows up saying the principal wants to see our hero. The class rep is still wearing that nasty grin as he orders Shan to go right away. Soon after, the principal is laying into him, saying that if the blockhead dies, Shan gets branded a murderer. Glancing at the supposed medical reports of skull fractures, Shan points out that the ink isn't even dry yet. The principal slams his desk, demanding to know if Shan's accusing him of lying. Flipping through the pages, Shan recalls he never even touched the guy's head and realizes this whole thing reeks of the class rep's handiwork. The principal insists he at least defend himself, but those reports look like rock-solid proof. Dropping his hands onto the desk, Shan gets serious and tells the principal to come with him to the hospital and meet this so-called patient face-to-face. Getting up close, Shan warns him straight up not to get dragged into this mess, adding that Tianli isn't half as untouchable as he thinks. The principal snaps, stammering like crazy, wondering when this kid suddenly turned into Sherlock with the deductions. Right then, the door bursts open and two officers storm in, declaring that Shan is guilty of assault and needs to be investigated. Our boy gets marched out of the building in cuffs while the class rep just stands there looking smug. The blonde mocks Shan, asking if he really thought he could challenge him. He even tosses out a fake goodbye, but our boy fires back, cold as ice, that this war is far from over. Inside the interrogation room, the officer slams down a stack of papers and yells that Han Chong suffered 3 cracked ribs. He jabs at the medical notes and orders Shan to sign the confession immediately. When Shan won't budge, the cop switches tactics, trying to gaslight him and demanding to know why he'd attack a classmate. But our hero stays ice cold, telling him to just pull up Chong's phone and check the transfer records. The officer snaps that Shan is under official investigation. Our boy then calmly replies that he won't say a single word without a lawyer present. Glancing at the cameras, he points out that not one of them is even working and that the officers stormed in without a valid warrant. He keeps dragging them through the mud, roasting their whole setup, how they ignored standard protocols and how their interrogation technique is amateur at best. While Shan keeps running his mouth, one of the officers nervously whispers to his partner, asking how the kid knows so much. Shan cuts them off, telling them to quit stalling and bring in their superior already, someone who at least knows the rules. Right on cue, the chief walks in and the other cops stand up to greet him. With a creepy smile, the man tells Shan that rules aren't rigid, they bend pretty easily. He spells it out plain. Shan's real mistake was crossing someone with strong connections. Then he shoves the confession his way, saying it's better to just sign now. Playing nice guy, he even promises to get the sentence shaved down by 3 years. Suddenly, Shan bursts out laughing, calling him nothing but a bootlicker. He doesn't stop there, pointing out that the man's no chief at all, just a deputy clawing his way up, which wipes the fake grin right off his face. Shan goes in even harder, roasting that sooner or later the fatso's gonna topple, and when he does, all that blubber will splatter everywhere. The rage bait lands perfectly and the deputy snaps, throwing out insults before grabbing Shan by the collar, threatening to handle him personally. Out of nowhere, an officer blurts out that command headquarters is calling them. The color drains from the deputy's face instantly while Shan just leans back with a smirk. He teases the deputy that the call sounds pretty important. Watching him sweat, Shan throws out one last jab, asking if the deputy's planning to take that call or not. The second he picks up the phone, the voice on the other end orders the deputy to release the boy fast. The deputy tries to argue that they need to follow proper procedure, but then a menacing man in an army uniform barges in, looking annoyed as hell. Turns out he's a man who works for Lin's father, Officer Changshun, who openly declares he can't stand dumb procedures and protocols. The deputy keeps yapping that barging in like that is a breach of protocol, but the soldier's so fed up he pulls out a 9 and points it at the corrupt pig's giant head just to demonstrate his own kind of protocol. The deputy finally gives up and drags the man inside while our boy sits there completely unharmed. Shan says it's outrageous they'd arrest someone connected to Colonel Lin without any charges, and the deputy mumbles excuses that sound about as weak as he is. Our boy thinks his backup showed up a little later than he'd hoped, and remembers he'd handed a letter to his friend to pass to the colonel, just in case he didn't make it back. He realizes he'd already be sitting in jail by now thanks to Tianli, and feels relieved his backup plan actually paid off. Meanwhile, Changshun hands over the release papers and tells the deputy to fill them out quick. As the deputy fills out the forms, he realizes the Yang family messed with the wrong people because the Lin family is insanely rich. And a kid with close ties to them is probably just as dangerous. Later, in the van, the driver teases Changshun that whipping out his gun on a civilian is a serious violation. The hothead gets fired up and argues that there were no bullets in it and there's no violation if nobody actually reports it. After that, he greets Shan and thanks him for saving the colonel's daughter earlier. Our boy replies that the colonel helped him out too, so they're even now. The officer gets curious, admitting he wants to see for himself just how skilled the kid is after hearing Lin herself praise his abilities. He feels the officer squeeze his hand like a caveman and realizes the man's trying to test him. Sure enough, the man suddenly throws a chop at his face. Shan dodges it fast and counters, but the officer slips that strike too. In the end, Shan impresses the guy with a knee strike right inside the car and locks him down. Suddenly, the driver warns them there's a patrol team up ahead, and the two cavemen quickly peel apart from each other. Later, Changshun leads him straight to his senior's office and tells his junior to grab a painkiller for him because this high school kid really did do a number on him. Meanwhile, our boy finally meets Lin's father, who's overjoyed to finally see the young hero who saved his daughter. The man offers him a seat and some tea, explaining that Shan's favor was worth far more than just bailing our boy out, because he owes him his only daughter's life. Our hero coolly claims any citizen with a real heart would have done the same. But the old man points out that nobody else had the guts to overpower a man holding a knife. And the colonel pulls out a top-secret file and tells him the Yang family's been getting out of hand lately, so they need to bring them back in line fast. The man tells him not to worry about Tianli anymore, because his daddy won't be flexing his power in public once they're done with him. Hearing that, it suddenly hits Shan that it's right around this time that Tianli's father actually got arrested and 6 million of his black money suddenly vanished, only to be discovered later inside the family mansion after it got demolished. And that gives our boy an idea. He grins and asks the colonel how Vice Chief Yang would react if his house suddenly got hit by robbers. Later that night, right as the alarm buzzes at 3 in the morning, Shan wakes up and starts pulling on his clothes, decked out head to toe in black gear. He slips past his mother, who's knocked out cold on the couch. She mutters something in her sleep that sounds like a Minecraft enchanting table, sending a chill straight down our hero's spine. Still half asleep, she mumbles for him to come back safe after school, and he jokingly replies that he'll be back soon. At the Yang family villa, Shan notices the entire place is absolutely crawling with cameras. Hugging the wall, he figures it makes perfect sense for a scumbag like Yang to be this paranoid, spotting a blind zone. He checks the time on his watch before breaking into his parkour routine. In no time, he scales the wall and drops into a patch of tall grass. He recalls from his life before the regression that the news claimed the dirty money was stashed inside some decorative piece, which makes him wonder just how massive a decoration has to be to hide that much cash. His eyes land on the fountain and it suddenly clicks. He walks up to it, wondering why it's even running this late at night. Then Shan freezes, noticing something just under the water. Meanwhile, a sleep-deprived guard makes his rounds, mumbling that only a lunatic would try breaking into this place. Suddenly, he senses something's off and yells for the intruder to show themselves. Flashlight aimed forward, he sighs in relief when it turns out to be nothing but a cat. Seeing the coast is clear, the guard shrugs and walks off. The moment his back is turned, Shan rises up out of the fountain clutching a bag, nearly scaring that poor cat into its next life. Now he gets why the cops never found it in his past life, and it feels like fate itself is on his side tonight. Crouching down to inspect the haul, he realizes the bags he brought won't be nearly enough to carry all this cash. He glances to the side and spots a conveniently placed trolley, which he then puts to work hauling the cash. Rolling it forward, he starts daydreaming over all the possibilities, eventually deciding investment sounds like the smartest play. Out of nowhere, a car comes zooming past. Before screeching to a stop, and a wasted Tianli stumbles out, mindlessly hurling insults at Shan. Calling him a worthless pile of trash for messing with him, Tianli winds up to kick a garbage can but stops mid-swing when he realizes it's actually a trolley. His blurry eyes lock onto the trolley stacked with money, and he wonders if maybe he drank way too much. Meanwhile, Shan creeps up behind him and delivers a sharp chop to the back of his neck. With a smirk, our hero talks trash, telling him to go check a mirror first, since he's the real trash here, drunk, driving, and without a license, no less. Shan kicks the actual steaming garbage pile and remarks that his mom's mumbling from earlier was spot on. Neither father nor son is worth a single dime. Our hero then pulls out a knife, but instead of finishing Tianli off, he decides to hand out a little gift. Lifting the class rep's head up, our boy takes on the role of barber and gives the class rep a fresh fade. Once he's done, Shan stands up and mutters that it was tougher work than he expected. He wheels the trolley away, joking to himself that he hopes the class rep enjoys the masterpiece. Next morning, his mother bangs on his door, telling him to wake up already. He casually mentions she's heading to the temple, which immediately grabs his interest. She explains that one of her kitchen knives was covered in hair and that puddles of water were left all over the place. He stays silent, only for her to catch on right away and scold him for staying up the entire night. He sighs, realizing once again that nothing ever slips past a mother's senses. The next morning, the Yang family guard is taking a stroll down the street when he stumbles onto a drunk dude lying right in his path. Figuring it's just bad luck, he kicks the loser to try and wake him up, telling the bum to move it because the street isn't his father's property. The noise wakes up Tianli, who furiously gets up to face the man who dared mess with him, making the guard's jaw instantly hit the floor when he sees exactly who he was rude to. Tianli tells the shouting guard to knock it off because his loud voice is giving him a splitting headache. When he feels his bushy hair, though, he wonders what on earth is going on, and finally spots the rest of it lying on the road behind him. That sends Daddy's spoiled little prince into an absolute meltdown, screaming that he'll get whoever did this to him. He then bolts straight off to his father's office building. There, he starts screaming outside for his dad to punish the person who bullied him outside the building. But his face goes pale and he's left completely confused when he sees two officers escorting his father out in handcuffs. The brat grabs his father and shouts at the officers to let him go unless they want their lives ruined and reputations destroyed. At that moment, an officer confirms the boy is Vice Chief Yang's son and informs him that his father got caught doing seriously illegal stuff during an anti-corruption agency investigation. The brat goes completely speechless when the officer tells him to stay quiet like a good boy and cooperate. Tianli's father tells his son to take care of himself because even Daddy won't be able to protect him anymore. That breaks the boy, who bursts into tears, and he spends that entire night crying like a toddler. The following day at school, Shan's buddy wakes him up to drop the breaking news that the class rep's dad got arrested on heavy corruption charges. Seeing Shan's totally calm reaction, his friend asks why he doesn't look the least bit surprised. And our boy simply replies that it's not really a big deal when someone who openly abuses power finally gets punished for it. He then tells his friend to quit bugging him because he needs more sleep after being up late handling something important. That makes his friend curious about what kept him up all night and why he smells oddly like a fish pond. Bro answers that he was out catching fish in the river all night, so his friend warns him to be careful. unless he wants to get busted for illegal fishing in the river. Later, Shan remembers that before the big rewind, Vice Chief Yang's arrest set off political chaos across the city. He realizes he made that result happen a little sooner than it should have in this timeline, and hopes the butterfly effect won't shake things up too drastically. With that thought, he starts wondering how to spend the 6 million end. His mind snaps right back to his main goal, getting revenge on young Master Chen. But since that amount isn't even close to enough to fight a billionaire, he starts thinking up investment ideas like buying the building itself and renting out apartments. The thought kind of depresses him though, because the only money-making idea his poor, uneducated family mindset can cook up is becoming a boring landlord. On his way home, he notices a gang of thugs beating someone down in the same alley he usually cuts through as a shortcut. He figures he'll just wait for the fight to wrap up, but then he catches what the thugs are saying and realizes the one they're beating is actually an officer. Bro feels straight up disappointed in the city's police, since even so-called elites like him are getting stomped by random street thugs. Just then, one of the thugs pulls out a metal pipe and cracks the man across the back of his head. A whole brain-dead alliance then watches the man hit the ground hard and wonders if he's already dead. One of them even gets the genius idea to test that by giving his head another whack, but before he can put the man into sleep mode for good, our boy rushes in and lands a solid kick straight into his empty skull. Seeing that, the other goons swarm around their boss to check if he's still breathing. Suddenly, the man they'd been beating wakes up and instantly freaks out when he sees who his savior actually is. Shan greets the officer with a smug smile and asks if his office got so uncomfortable that he's now hiding out on the city streets. Officer Loser quickly rolls with the excuse that he was simply undercover, running a field mission to observe how the public views the police. He yanks the jobless-looking man off the floor and advises him to sharpen his awareness because he's absolutely terrible at detecting danger. Impressed by his skills, the man tells him he'd make a star officer. He low-key offers him the honor of serving as his personal bodyguard. Shan immediately tells the deputy director to hold his horses, hinting that he came to talk business. Since his car's parked nearby, Director Dong suggests they take the conversation inside, once they're seated in the car. Director Dong presses a cold cloth to his head and starts complaining about how kids these days are way too emotional. Shan narrows his eyes and asks if that was supposed to be a low-key insult, realizing he might have just offended his savior. The director starts apologizing, admitting he's got a bad habit of running his mouth without thinking. Setting that aside, Shan urges him to beef up security in the old district since the area's crawling with troublesome gangs. The director nods along but voices his concern about Officer Lin. Shan explains that Lin just wants to keep order in the district. He also adds that if the director really wants a promotion, he needs to accomplish something meaningful, since random undercover patrols aren't going to impress anybody. Unfortunately, those simple instructions completely fail to penetrate Director Dong's half-fried brain. So Shan moves on and mentions he's got a personal goal too. He's got a genius plan to make serious money, but for that, he needs a trustworthy partner to handle the cash flow. He reveals that he's got inside info. The entire old district is eventually getting demolished. Hearing that, the director nearly panics at the thought of deploying his team into that mess. Without missing a beat, he launches into a rant about how much money, how many connections, and what kind of operation a job that size would actually require. Shan calmly assures him the money's handled. As for connections, he'll build those himself. The only thing he's missing is someone inside the police force to make it all official. With that, he offers the bottom-feeding officer a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a shot at earning enough money to comfortably coast all the way to retirement. Hearing that, the deputy director hesitates a moment, clearly annoyed that he's being played by a teenager. Still, he eventually folds. Forcing a smile, he tells our boy to think of him like an uncle and to reach out anytime he needs help. On the way back, the slow director finally connects the dots and realizes it was the Lin family who leaked him the info. The next morning at school, the boys hustle to class as usual. Everyone's busy studying. When out of nowhere, a homeless-looking guy walks in, a cloth covering his face. He suddenly drops to his knees in front of the entire class. He apologizes deeply to Shan and begs for forgiveness, sorry for being a complete jerk. With tears and snot streaming down his face, he pleads with Shan to help his father. As the only one with ties to the Lin family, he promises to do anything in return if Shan can get his dad released. He dramatically bends forward and the cloth slips right off, revealing a shiny bald head smoother than a baby's bottom. The whole class bursts out laughing, wondering if their class president has completely lost it. And just like that, the former bully ends up on the receiving end of the exact humiliation he used to dish out. Shan feels a little offended, wondering if his haircut suggestion was really so terrible that the guy went and shaved everything off. Meanwhile, Tianli feels a flicker of regret for telling his clueless stylist to restore his aura at any cost. Soon enough, Shan gets tired of watching the man-child sob. He tells the fool to stop kneeling and get up. Hearing that, the class rep briefly thinks he's been forgiven, but Shan quickly makes it clear he promised nothing. In the first place, his father got arrested because he treated the law like it was his personal property, and as his son, he knew better than anyone how wrong that was. Instead of embarrassing himself in front of the whole school, he should be cooperating with the police. Tianli starts crying all over again. But this time, something inside him snaps. Storming off in anger, he declares he's already lost everything precious to him, and he'll make sure Shan feels that exact same pain. Later that night, Tianli rounds up a group of guys outside Shan's house. Even his lackeys hesitate. They're fine roughing someone up or smashing a few windows. But starting a fire? That's straight-up arson, a crime way too extreme even for them. The blonde bastard shuts down their complaints, claiming it'll all get written off as an accidental fire anyway. This is his grand plan to make Shan understand what it really feels like to lose the place you call home, just as one of them gets ready to throw a Molotov. A calm voice speaks up from behind, asking if he can't sleep at night now that daddy's not home. Tianli spins around in shock, only to find that his target has already dismantled his entire plan. Tianli asks, totally bewildered, how Shan even knows about his plan. Furious, he orders his lackeys to attack. The poor guys immediately remind him that they already got their cheeks clapped by this kid just the day before. Bald bastard spins on them, fuming, reminding them of all the favors he's done. The first guy tells the second to go first, but the second suddenly complains about a terrible headache. Tired of watching the clowns embarrass themselves, Shan steps in and solves their dilemma. Since they can't decide, he'll decide for them. He hops down and slaps the first guy so hard that the imprint practically tattoos itself onto his face. The dude drops instantly, his neck twisted awkwardly to one side. The Molotov in his hand slips loose and cracks against the asphalt. Tianli clicks his tongue, annoyed at the wasted bottle. Now he's down a man, so he orders the second bodyguard to step up. But one look at Shan's cold stare terrifies the guy so badly that he hands over the rest of the Molotovs and bolts without looking back. Seeing that, Tianli's mood flips yet again. Shan steps in closer, towering over him, and asks just who exactly he thinks he's glaring at. Sweat pours down the class president's face as it finally hits him that he's massively, monumentally screwed. Desperate, he threatens to burn everything down and gets ready to throw the bottles. But Shan moves like an assassin, snatching his forearm before he can even twitch. The grip is crushing and Tianli's hands shake as he realizes he picked the absolute wrong guy to mess with. Switching tones in a flash, he forces a laugh and claims it was all just a little prank between classmates. Amused, Shan tells his dear classmate to do him one tiny favor. On the verge of tears, Tianli stammers and asks what that favor is. Shan answers with a ruthless uppercut, telling him to shut it before his mom wakes up from all the noise. The crybaby immediately threatens to call the cops, and this time he actually does it. But when the police arrive, they arrest the bald idiot for being a public nuisance in the dead of night. Tianli stares in disbelief, wondering if the officers have potatoes for eyes since he's obviously the victim here. He even screams at Director Dong for being ungrateful after everything his father supposedly did for him. The deputy director replies, all innocent, that his father may have done a lot, but he clearly never taught his son how to read the room. He tacks on one more piece of advice: when you play with fire, you'd better be ready to feel the burn. With that, he thanks our hero for handling the public nuisance and even offers to celebrate a little. Shan declines. He needs proper rest because he's got serious business to handle tomorrow. The next morning, they head out to the old district. The director embarrasses himself stepping right into a pothole, splashing dirty water all over his shoes. Looking around at the rundown buildings, he questions whether they can really make money off a dump like this. But Shan knows from past experience that this place once produced over a dozen millionaires. To make it more convincing, he drops another piece of insider information. There's a satellite coverage plan underway to upgrade the city's tech infrastructure. Once that lands, land prices in the old district will shoot up and demolition costs will climb right along with them. Hearing that, the deadweight director beams with excitement, proud that his partner clearly knows exactly what he's talking about. What he doesn't realize is that Shan plans to use him and pocket the biggest slice of the demolition payout. After their inspection, they stop by a bar in the district. Shan calmly pays the elderly bartender 150,000 to buy the place outright. Confused, the director remarks that it makes no sense to sell off such a well-designed bar. The owner lets out a deep sigh and explains that his son fell deep into gambling debt. Ever since, loan sharks have been sending collectors to harass them nonstop. With no other option left, he's been forced to put up the bar as collateral. The bartender's son really turned his father's life upside down. which seriously irritates Director Dong. When Shan hears that the deadline falls right before the scheduled demolition, alarm bells start ringing in his head. He asks where the son borrowed the money from. Without hesitation, the bartender answers like it's common knowledge. Around here, everyone borrows from the man they call Lord Hu. In Shan's eyes, Lord Hu's behavior isn't normal at all. It feels like the man's targeting the bar itself rather than just chasing down the debt. That suspicion is exactly why Shan rushed to put the place up for sale. An amused grin spreads across his face as he asks the director to hold off on signing the contract. Director Dong suggests they kick back and share a drink first. Shan tells Deputy Deadweight they can't afford to relax because this Lord Hu is running the exact same play they are. Meanwhile, inside Lord Hu's castle, his woman asks why he's staring at some dirty old street on the monitor when they could be enjoying themselves instead. He assumes she won't understand. But he explains anyway that a king must always watch over his kingdom. She playfully asks if that makes her the queen. Hearing that, the dead serious dictator bursts out laughing. This is Lord Hu, who's ruled this city with an iron fist for the past 20 years, known to all as the King of the Night. The man's behind countless illegal businesses sprawled across more than half the city. Because of that reach, plenty of people secretly call him Chen Half City. On the other side, our boys arrive at the location, and Director Dong warns Shan to be extremely careful because Lord Hu is a complete psycho. He also mentions the man has certain ties to the Chen family. The moment he hears that name, fragments of our boy's past life come flashing through his mind. A slow smile spreads across his face, stretching from ear to ear. Instead of fear, he feels excitement. This is the perfect chance to finally take his revenge. Noticing his reaction, the director asks if he's got some kind of history with the Chen family. Shan calmly replies that he knows a thing or two about them and agrees that Lord Hu is nothing more than a dog they keep on a leash. And he confidently promises that he'll take him down. With that, he tells the director to keep up the preparations and leave the rest to him. It's about time he finishes the mission he started in his former life. Meanwhile, Lord Hu gets word that the bar's been snatched away by another party. Furious, he slaps his lackey across the face without a second's hesitation. He can't comprehend how everything spiraled out of control and starts throwing a violent tantrum. A servant trembles in fear. But his manager quickly steps in and urges him to calm down. He hands over a photograph and explains that the opposing side includes Director Dong and some high school brat. After seeing the photo, Lord Hu, who was already confused, can't understand how Director Dong dodged arrest when the Yang family went down. He asks his manager about the identity of the student standing beside him. The manager replies that they've got no solid info on the boy. He seems to be a total newcomer. Lord Hu decides it's smarter to target the student first, since going after the director directly would be a pain. Lord Hu orders his men to wrap up a full investigation within 3 days. Lord Hu also warns his lackey to keep a close eye on the bar at all times because if anything goes wrong again, his manhood is going on the chopping block and he'll be working a very different kind of job at his establishment. The threat alone makes the poor guy break into a cold sweat. Later that night, Shan and his best buddy head to the bar. His buddy quickly stops him, warning that stepping into Lord Hu's territory is a terrible idea. Determined, our boy asks why he's acting like such a scaredy cat and tells him to just stick to the plan. He casually advises his buddy to just play some Genshin Impact on his phone or something to kill the time. He assures him that he'll take all the risk himself. His buddy still looks uneasy, so he teases him that they can always just head back home if he doesn't want the gaming console anymore. That immediately shuts him up. Shan tells him to wait for the signal, then walks toward the entrance alone. In his previous life, he already raided this place once, so he knows about the hidden entrance and the password. He knocks on the door, and a butler-looking man cracks it open just slightly. Saying they're closed and he should leave, Shan calmly delivers the secret password, and the door swings wide open. The man studies him carefully and asks if this is his first visit since he doesn't recognize his face. To make a bombastic entrance, our boy casually tosses a stack of cash into the air like it's pocket change. The waiter's attitude flips instantly. With a respectful smile, he asks what kind of experience the guest is looking for tonight. Shan tells him to show him everything this bar has to offer. The waiter claps his hands, and just like that, all the fine ladies in the vicinity step forward to welcome their guest. Shan gets escorted inside Lord Hu's casino, baby. And the first thing he spots, some poor soul down on his knees begging for cash to place one more bet after losing absolutely everything. Shan watches for a second and thinks to himself, gambling is not a game of luck. He walks up to the counter, cool as you like, and drops 100,000 worth of chips on the table. Every waiter nearby wishes him good luck. And hearing that, something clicks in Sean's head. Most people really do think luck is the whole game here, but nobody ever talks about the truth that this is actually a psychological war. And he already knows exactly which little tricks can tip the scales in his favor. Sean takes a seat at a table where two players are already going at it. The dealer shuffles the cards and sends them out. Our boy's hand, an ace of hearts, a king of spades, and a queen of clubs, not bad at all. But Sean's not focused on his own cards right now. His eyes are locked onto the fat man sitting across the table. He catches it almost instantly, a subtle upward twitch in the man's facial muscles. That tells him everything he needs to know. Dude's sitting on a strong hand. On the other side of the table, the long-haired player is a stone wall, completely, unnervingly expressionless. Sean studies him a little closer and then he notices it, an unusually long nail on the pinky finger. He puts it together immediately. That nail isn't just a fashion choice. The guy's been using it to mark the cards. Once everyone's checked their hands, the dealer asks if anyone wants to raise. The fat man, already smelling victory, throws his chips forward and cranks it up by 5,000. Sean shoves every single chip he has into the middle and declares he's going all in. That one move is enough to make the fat man's confidence crack right down the middle. Even the stone-faced, long-haired player starts to feel it, that creeping uncertainty. Is this a bluff? Is it calculated? He genuinely cannot tell. Sean plays it perfectly. He raises his hand like a confused rookie and tells the dealer that this is literally his first time playing. And from what he's heard, you're supposed to bet big when your hand is really strong, right? The dealer gives a polite smile and gently agrees with the logic. And when the two players look over at Sean, they buy it completely. A clueless newbie betting on instinct, that's what they see, and both of them decide to fold. Sean scoops the pot without breaking a sweat, then the hands get flipped before the reshuffle. And the two players are left sitting there looking absolutely cooked. They realize the kid played them from start to finish. It was a bluff the whole time. Naturally, the arguing starts and the demands for a rematch come flying in. But before the dealer can even touch the cards again, Sean quietly collects his winnings and slips away from the table. He already knows you never run the same play twice. As he moves toward another table to keep the money train rolling, a girl in a bunny costume slides up to him and immediately tries to get him to buy her a drink. Sean shuts that down fast, calls her auntie, reminds her he's still in school, and then asks where the faster-paced games are, the ones where the real money moves. And just like that, he ends up at a dice table. He goes quiet and listens carefully as the dealer shakes the cup. Just from the sound of the dice colliding and the way they settle, he clocks it 4, 5, and 6. The dealer calls for bets. Sean slides every chip he has forward, all in. Again, the cup lifts. Sean wins again. The dealer is grinding his teeth staring at those dice, genuinely trying to figure out if this kid has X-ray vision installed in his eyeballs. Sean casually tells the game master to pick up the pace. He wants to win a little more and then head home to rest. Nonchalant, unbothered, chronically main character. The dealer agrees and keeps the game going, but the sweat pouring down his face tells a completely different story. He's already dreading the conversation with his boss if this kid doesn't stop, and the kid shows absolutely zero signs of stopping. Lord Hughes, who has been watching every single second of this through the security cameras, is furious. He mutters to himself that the boy should have known when to quit while he was ahead. In a shockingly short amount of time, Sean has stacked up several million in winnings. The dealer looks like he's one bad round away from crying. The gamblers hovering nearby start whispering to each other, half joking, half dead serious, that poor dealer is either getting fired, beaten, or worse after the shift. Then a woman walks in, flanked by casino security. She calmly tells the trembling dealer he can step aside and hand the cup over to her. Sean looks at her and gets hit by that nagging feeling like he's seen this woman somewhere before. Then the floor manager announces her name, Nayama Chizuru. Sean visibly stiffens. He knows that name. She's one of the figures from the Golden Triangle. And before he can fully process it, she steps forward and asks him to place his next bet. That's when the memories start pulling him back. His past life. May 17th in Shibuya, his first encounter with Nayama Chizuru, one of those rare meetings that almost felt like a quiet, peaceful date. The two of them sat over drinks just talking when Chizuru commented on how noisy the place was. She asked Sean if he could think of anywhere else that stayed this lively at this hour. Then, without any warning at all, she told him not to close his eyes, and stepped right up onto the table, reaching down to touch his cheeks with her fingers. She told him his eyes looked like a wolf's, like they were cutting straight through her. She asked him to keep staring, not to look away. Sean calmly moved her hands aside and told her she had it backwards. She was the dangerous one here. He called her a cat. Chizuru leaned in closer and insisted she only wanted to make him happy, that she had no interest in digging through his secrets. By then, she was clearly drunk and she just kept talking through the night without holding back. At some point, she let something slip, a trick about dice, something about feeling the breath of the dice. She explained that you have to learn to sense the language in your opponent's muscles, almost like reading their heartbeat directly. Back in the present, Sean holds onto that memory and locks in using exactly that technique, reading muscle movement to predict the dice. He scans her carefully, her hands are loose and relaxed, but the muscles around her neck are tight. He even tracks the direction of the folds in her clothing, picking apart every tiny detail like a hawk, getting ready to read her next move. Chizuru rolls the dice and asks the boy to place his bet. Sean pushes all his chips forward and says the result is 333. Chizuru blinks. For a second, she just stares at him because what he just said sounds completely impossible. She genuinely thinks the kid has lost his mind. But Sean holds her gaze steady, calm, dead serious and tells her to open the cup. She lifts it. The entire room goes silent. The floor manager breaks into a cold sweat as the math starts hitting him all at once. The payout this kid is about to receive is going to clear 50 million. The whole casino erupts into chaos over the sheer shock of it. And Sean quietly notes to himself he and Chizuru have crossed paths again, and somehow it's always in the loudest, most chaotic setting possible. Watching his casino bleed out in real time, Lord Hughes completely loses it. At that exact moment, one of his men bursts through the door with urgent news. He's identified the boy. He tells Lord Hughes that the kid tearing apart the casino and the student who cleared out the bar earlier are the exact same person. That confirmation sends Lord Hughes into an entirely new level of rage. He orders his men to grab their weapons and follow him down to the casino floor. He's going to deal with this kid personally, and he's moving fast before Sean can cash out a single chip. Sean tells the staff to hurry up, then pulls out his phone and calls his best friend Jai, letting him know it's his turn now. Right on cue, Lord Hughes comes storming in and immediately charges straight at Sean, ready to cut him in two. But before he can get close enough, every light in the building dies. The floor manager screams for someone to restore power through the emergency system. The backup kicks in. Hughes' men start scrambling, searching for their boss in the dark. They eventually find him flat on the ground with multiple broken bones. They rush him to the hospital while Sean has already slipped out through a hidden passage with every last coin of his winnings. As he moves, he mutters to himself about how much his hands are killing him. That guy's body was built unusually tough. He's just about to leave when he calls out for Jai. And the bunny girl pops out instead, demanding to know if he has a death wish. Casino gangsters close in from all sides and tell him to be a good boy, hand over the money, and they'll be kind enough not to touch his face. Sean lets out a quiet sigh. He had planned for everything tonight except having to deal with this annoying auntie again. He calls her exactly what she is, a rabbit selling herself for the tiger. He squares up, positions himself in front of the whole group and tells them to come at him all at once. He's trying to save time here. One of the men takes serious personal offense to that. He steps forward alone, a metal rod in each hand, and comes in swinging. Sean catches one of his arms mid-motion and plants a single punch in his face, just enough force, and sends the man flying. He crashes onto the ground. The rest of the group hesitates. Watching their guy go down that fast has shaken them a little. Sean glances back at them and asks, still planning to come at him one by one. Remaining two exchange nervous looks and decide that maybe together they stand a better chance. Seeing them both charge in at once actually makes Sean smile. He launches into the air, drives a knee into one and a foot into the other. Both drop, he lands clean. He turns to deal with the bunny girl next, but she's already gone, sprinting away like her life depends on it, because honestly, it might. As she disappears, Jai finally shows up and asks Sean if everything's handled. Jai explains his move. He found out the casino had a backup generator, so instead of cutting that, he killed the power to the entire street. He asks if he did well, and Sean gives him props for actually using his full brain capacity for once. Jai, riding that high, suggests they both drop the part-time criminal side hustle and school entirely and just go full-time criminal, because clearly they have the talent for it. Sean is already walking away and barely registers a word of it. Meanwhile, the bunny girl makes it back to the casino and goes straight to the manager and asks for backup. Instead of helping her, he slaps her across the face and starts laying into her, then accuses her of being a thief. The girl insists through the pain that she has only ever been loyal to Master Hughes. But the floor manager has already made up his mind. He needs someone to take the fall, and she's the most convenient option. He accuses her of secretly teaming up with the newcomer to rig the games from the inside. She cries out and begs him to see reason, but it's already clear she's not walking out of this one clean. Next day, class is in session. One student is dozing off, and behind a stack of books, Sean is quietly running his next move through his head. He thinks about how he can't afford to get greedy. Once word about the demolition spreads, property prices are going to jump fast. He's already ahead. Maybe this is the smart time to pull back. He also plans to take the money he just made and pour it into launching his own security company. He already has a few people in mind, veterans who have their own reasons to want the Chen family brought down. Then the teacher appears right in front of him and asks him to answer the question. Sean's response, bananas. The teacher stares at him like he's given up hope entirely. He tells Sean he's a lost cause, and from the looks of things, he doesn't even have any interest in passing the college entrance exams. Sean, completely unbothered, says he was listening and that the lecture was definitely about bananas. The teacher snaps. He says he has no intention of letting a deadweight drag down the class average, which is why Sean is getting remedial classes after school. Sean immediately points at Jai and asks why he's the one being punished when Jai has been completely knocked out for the entire lecture, which is objectively worse. Jai, without even lifting his head off the desk, answers the teacher's question perfectly. The teacher tells Sean that if he can rank 4th in the grade like Jai, he'll also earn the right to sleep in class. Sean is genuinely a little stunned. His friend has been secretly at the top of their grade this whole time and said nothing. That evening, Sean drags himself to remedial class, sighing about the fact that even remedials have attendance requirements. Then he hears a familiar voice and glances over. Lindsay, of course it is. He asks if she got stuck in remedials too. Turns out no, she's the top student in their grade and she personally went to the principal to request permission to tutor the hopeless case known as Sean. She leans in close, cheeks slightly flushed, and tells him to work hard and pay close attention in their class today. She grabs his tie, pulls him in, and reminds him she came here just for him. Then she pulls him even closer and whispers right in his ear that he needs to be a good boy. Our guy's brain straight up crashes. His face turns red in real time. She notices immediately and teases him. He's always so unbothered and stone-faced, but now he's blushing like a little kid. Desperately trying to get out of this situation, Sean redirects her. They're supposed to be studying, remember. She doubles down. She grabs his tie harder and tells him to calculate exactly how much force she's applying against his body weight. He is absolutely floored. He tells her a complete beginner can't just jump into physics, they should start with maths. Lindsay finally lets go and agrees functions it is. She walks over to the board and starts writing out an equation, and keeps sneaking glances at him while she writes, until she catches herself doing it and her face goes pink too. She finishes the equation and asks him to find the domain. And Sean draws a complete blank. He genuinely has no idea what a domain even is. It's been years since he last cracked open a textbook back in his previous life. Lindsay looks at him in disbelief, then walks up to him and says she'll take it from the very beginning, step by step. But her being that close only makes Sean even more flustered. She notices and reassures him no more tie grabbing. She offers to grab him a hairpin instead so his long hair stops blocking his vision. That somehow makes it worse. Sean immediately tells her to just start the lesson, please. On the inside, he's barely keeping it together. He's survived battlefields and never flinched, but this girl is on a completely different level of dangerous. Eventually, the tutoring session from hell wraps up. She tells him to review everything when he gets home, and warns him if he skips the books again, she's going to have to give him some special lessons. As they walk out of the building, she tries to make small talk. He brushes it off. She gathers her courage, says his name, and asks point blank, does he hate her? He quickly says no, but she presses further. Is there anything more he wants to say? Then she just blurts it out, she likes him. And our boy's entire brain reboots. She doesn't even look embarrassed. She says it again, calm and clear, she has a crush on him. And that's the whole reason she's been trying so hard to get his attention. She asks if he feels any kind of connection with her too. Sean looks genuinely scared. He apologizes and tells her they're completely different people, and he doesn't want to be the reason her life gets complicated. He walks away. She chases after him, telling him his grades don't matter to her at all. He doesn't turn around. Meanwhile, at an undisclosed location, the blonde man looks at Jinhoo and tells him he made a real mess of things. Jinhoo drops to his knees and starts making excuses. The kid was just too strong. Yuchin cuts him off immediately. He doesn't care about excuses. Results are all that matter. Jinhoo bows even lower and begs for another shot to prove himself. The young master tilts his head, swirling a glass of wine, and agrees to give him one more chance. Then he drops the glass. It shatters on the floor, red wine spreading across the tiles. Yuchin steps closer and says it plainly, if he screws up again, that'll be his head on the floor. He tells him to get out but clean up the mess first. Then he picks up a fresh glass and pours himself another drink. He says Sean's name out loud, almost amused by it, genuinely entertained that some nobody has the nerve to stand against the Chen family. Yuchin promises to give our boy the classic Chen family special treatment. Meanwhile, two of Jinhoo's guys help him limp toward his ride, and he immediately starts barking orders at them. Be careful, don't crease the limited edition sneakers, handle him like he's royalty. The audacity on this man. What he doesn't know, though, is that one of those shoes in the goon's hand has a tracking chip attached to it. Sean is listening to every single word from the comfort of his room. He listens to the thugs bicker back and forth with each other, and then freezes the moment the Chen family's name gets dropped. He tears off his headphones, shoots to his feet, and shouts that he's finally found them. He makes a beeline for the door, ready to end it right now. Then stops himself just before stepping outside. He forces himself to breathe. Acting on raw emotion is exactly how you get yourself killed. And killing the guy outright would honestly be letting him off too easy. He takes a slow, deep breath and brings himself back down. A proper plan, that's what this needs. He's already got the money. The next step is building the right team and wiping the enemy out in one clean, decisive move. Next day, the shooting range. Sean is at it, shot after shot, not missing once. A staff officer watching him nudges the guy next to him and says straight up, the kid is better. The other officer tries to brush it off, but the staff officer points at the target. Every single shot has landed dead center, on the head every time. The staff officer shakes his head and asks if this kid is genuinely just a high school student with that kind of accuracy. The other officer gets defensive and starts rambling about how anyone can hit a stationary target. Sean looks at him, then calmly asks the staff officer if he can make one small adjustment to the exercise. He tells the other officer to toss a shell casing into the air. The man is visibly irritated but can't exactly refuse. He eventually agrees, fuming the entire time. The casing goes up, Sean locks in and fires without a second of hesitation. The bullet connects with the casing midair, perfect. Both officers just stand there, stunned silent. The skeptical one tries to call it a fluke, but the staff officer tells him to drop the ego and accept that he just got cooked by a high schooler. Our boy, getting a little tired of the back and forth, offers to do it again, blindfolded. The staff officer waves the other guy off and says he's seen enough. He asks Sean directly what's the secret. And Sean, completely straight-faced, tells him he got really good at shooting balloons at the amusement park. The staff officer actually believes it, which somehow shocks Sean more than anything else that's happened today. Then our boy gets to the real reason he came. He has a favor to ask. The staff officer immediately says yes to whatever it is as long as it's not something shady. Sean explains that he wants to start a security company built on retired veterans. He wants to give those men a real second chapter, something with purpose. These soldiers served their country with everything they had and shouldn't just be thrown away when their service is done. His security company will stand for order and go after the scum that threatens ordinary people. Staff officer gets emotional listening to this and demands to know what he needs. John says it's simply loyal, capable men and a smoother approval process. Staff officer promises to handle the qualifications personally. It hands him the contact of an old veteran squad leader running a station nearby. Sean takes the address and thanks him. The staff officer tells him to come back if he needs anything and wishes him luck. On the inside, Sean quietly thinks to himself, that Yuchen should start counting his days because the punishment has officially begun. That night, staring at the piece of paper in his hand, he sees the name Peng and realizes he actually knows this person from his previous life. The next day, he heads out to the address deep in Shantytown. The place looks completely deserted. The layout of the area is a maze, nothing is straightforward. But he eventually finds it. He steps inside and greets the man behind the counter, asking for Brother Ping. The man tells him he's not taking any new work today and to come back tomorrow. Sean drops the staff officer's name. Staff officer Ching Sean sent him. The man goes quiet. Sean pulls out the paper and tells him he just wants to talk. The veteran cuts him off, says he only fixes things now. He's not interested in anything else. Sean lays it out clearly. He has an opportunity that could genuinely change the man's situation. He points out bluntly that the veteran has skills that are going completely unrecognized and that right now he's barely scraping by. That hits a nerve immediately. The veteran asks him exactly where he got the nerve to say that to his face. Sean quickly tries to bring the temperature down. He's offering loyalty in exchange for fair pay. Nothing more. The veteran isn't buying it and asks what makes a kid like him think he's even qualified to make that kind of offer. He adds if the staff officer really did send him, then he already knows that money alone doesn't buy his respect. Sean replies that he understands that completely. A wild beast can't be tamed without a whip. The veteran says he doesn't need a whip and reaches for a pair of chopsticks. Tosses one to Sean and lays down the challenge. First one to drop theirs loses. John pauses for just a moment, then tells him to start. The two close the distance fast and Sean makes the first move. He leaps into the air and brings the chopstick down hard. The veteran blocks it with ease. They lock up in a brief stalemate, but Sean keeps the pressure on and follows through with a kick. Brother Ping is forced to give ground. Sean taunts him, asks how well he holds up when someone else is the one on the attack. The veteran takes the bait and rushes in with a punch. Sean ducks under it and counters with another kick. knocking the chopstick clean out of the veteran's hand. Right at that exact second, a kid walks through the door calling out that he's back. The veteran yells at him to move, but the kid is too caught off guard to register the chopstick flying straight toward him. In a flash, Sean dashes forward and catches it right before impact. Brother Ping rushes over to check on the kid, but he's completely fine and absolutely amazed at how fast Sean just moved. He even jokes and asks his brother who would win if those two actually went at it for real. The veteran goes quiet for a few seconds, then turns back to Sean and asks what he originally came here to say. He gestures toward the counter. All of that is medicine. His little brother needs it to get by. The veteran forces the words out. Yeah, he's looking to change his situation, but that doesn't mean he's accepted defeat. He insists he would have caught that chopstick himself if his brother hadn't walked in. Still, watching Sean move to protect the kid without a second thought is what actually earns his trust. Sean reassures him nothing shady. He wants to build a security company, a legitimate one. He needs a team of solid, loyal fighters who can handle the hardest situations, and that team needs someone strong enough to lead them. That's exactly why he wants Brother Peng to be their blade. Later, inside Brother Peng's modest room, a framed photo sits on the wall. The soldiers he once served alongside. A younger version of him smiles back from the picture, full of life, full of fight. Sean looks at it and quietly asks what changed. Brother Peng answers with a bitter smile. There's always a gap between what you hoped for and what actually happened. After pouring everything into the job for years, he got discarded like he was nothing, just like every other hardworking man who gave too much and got back too little. He'd rather not sit with those memories any longer. He changes the subject himself, invites Sean to sit and offers him some tea. Sean tells him to keep it casual and admits that he understands how much Brother Peng has had to carry. Then he asks him directly, does he really want the last thing he ever did to be risking his life for scumbags? That question lands hard. Brother Peng goes quiet. Sean continues, calm and steady. Soldiers like him shouldn't end their lives drowning in regret. They deserve better than that. That's exactly why he's building this company. A place where veterans can stand tall with real dignity, take proper work, and earn an honest living. They'll protect ordinary people from criminals, not serve corrupt interests. And Sean has been looking for someone exactly like Brother Peng, someone who's been through hell and still knows how to lead. That vision hits somewhere deep. Brother Peng agrees without a single moment of hesitation. He swears full loyalty and promises to follow whatever path Sean sets. The two share a quiet, genuine moment, fists bumped in solidarity. Sean adds one more promise. He'll make sure Brother Peng's little brother gets the medical treatment he needs. He tells Brother Peng to sit tight until he reaches out again. And Sean takes his leave. On the walk home, he passes a few kids playing out in the street. A couple steps later, he glances back almost out of habit and catches a shady figure lurking around the corner, watching him. He's mildly insulted that Chen Jin who would send someone this sloppy to tail him. Annoyed, he calls out for the so-called spy to show themselves, and to his genuine surprise, it's Lin Zai, who looks actually hurt by the harsh way he addressed her. Confused, he asks why on earth she is the one following him around. Lin Zai laughs it off and says calling it stalking is a bit dramatic. He sighs and turns away, telling her to stop wandering into dangerous places. She immediately fires his exact words back at him. He shouldn't be skipping tutoring and hanging around sketchy neighborhoods either. Her cheeks go a little pink as she admits that his reckless habits genuinely worry her. Sean, getting more irritated by the second, reminds her that he already made it completely clear the people he's dealing with are dangerous and she needs to stay away. Lin Zai smugly asks just how dangerous it could really be. And right on cue, a jeep comes barreling down the road toward them at full speed. He freezes, confused about why it isn't slowing down. Sean yells at her to get out of the way. Instead, this girl leaps straight into the road and shoves him to safety. She literally threw herself into traffic to protect him. The dedication is unreal. Then she slips and goes down hard on the asphalt. Sean immediately asks if she's okay. She brushes it off and says she only did it to prove her point. Danger doesn't scare her. Respect the commitment, honestly. The jeep screeches to a stop. A gang of thugs piles out, armed with katanas, furious that he had the nerve to show up on their turf on what they've decided is a date after disrespecting their boss. Sean drops straight into a fighting stance and tells Lin Zai to close her eyes. Meanwhile, Lin Zai is completely distracted, still caught up on the fact that these guys just called this a date. The thugs charge in all at once. A few sharp strikes and well-placed kicks later, they're scattered across the pavement. Then Lin Zai screams a warning. One of them lunges from behind with a blade. Sean braces himself, there's no time to dodge, then a single gunshot cuts through the air. The bullet slams into the blade and knocks it clean out of the attacker's hand. The thug stares at his trembling fingers in disbelief. It at the bullet now lodged in his own sword. From the rooftop of a nearby building, a cold, measured voice rings out with a warning. Next shot will not miss if anyone dares to lay a hand on their young lady. While Lin's eye is being treated at the hospital, Sean waits anxiously just outside the room. Anger burns in his chest. The Chen family just tried to use her to get to him. He makes a silent vow they will pay for this. A nurse steps out and asks if any family members are present. Sean quickly asks how Lin's eye is doing. The nurse reassures him that nothing is seriously wrong, but they need to keep her under observation for the night. She asks if he's a family member, someone needs to sign some documents. Sean has to admit with a quiet regret that he's only her classmate. He can't sign anything. At that moment, the colonel walks in and states plainly that he is family. Sean immediately tries to apologize, but the colonel doesn't slow down for a second. He walks straight into the room. Inside, Lin's eye does her best to convince her father that it was just an accident. She makes sure he knows Sean did everything he could to protect her. Hearing that, the colonel gradually settles. He sighs softly and tells her she worries him far too much, especially now that she's grown up so capable and mature. Then she asks about the mysterious people who stepped in to protect her. She wonders if they're from his unit. He simply tells her that all she needs to know is that they're family. She looks puzzled and asks what that means exactly, and he gently tells her not to worry about it for now. Outside the room, Sean has been standing there the entire time quietly listening in on the whole conversation. So the rumors about the Lin family and their powerful connections, completely real. As the colonel moves to leave, he can still hear Lin's eye cheerfully calling out goodbye to him from inside the room. When the colonel steps out, Sean immediately repeats his apology. He put her in danger once already, he refuses to let it happen again. The colonel's response is cold and flat, words mean nothing. Sean doesn't deflect or make excuses. He takes the full weight of it and means every word when he says he's truly sorry for what happened to her. The colonel grips his shoulder firmly and says if he really wants to apologize, then he should go and take revenge on the people who made this happen. Sean says without blinking that he will absolutely make sure they get what's coming to them. The colonel says he believes him, but he also has only one daughter. He cannot keep watching her get caught in the crossfire like this. After that, the colonel tells him his parents are probably worried he should head home. Later that night, Sean listens in on a conversation between Yuchen and one of his lackeys. The lackey reports that the boy has been given his warning. But in the process, the Lin family's young lady took some minor injuries. Yuchen waves it off like it's nothing, says it's actually a useful way to see how the colonel responds. The lackey then says plainly that Sean is just an insect, one they can crush whenever they feel like it. Sean, listening to all of this, is genuinely irritated. Big talk from people he already sent running. Then Yuchen drops something that changes the entire picture. The demolition project is just a cover. Once his network is complete, every piece of business in the area will belong to the Chen family. Those buildings are critical to the whole operation and they will secure them by any means necessary. Sean realizes he's just found the enemy's weak point. Yuchen orders his men to stay cautious until the goods arrive. After that, they can move however they want. Sean understands clearly he needs to build up his forces fast before those goods reach the city. The next day, Brother Ping shows up with all the veterans listed in Sean's file. Sean steps forward, introduces himself, and welcomes them to Dragon Shield Securities. The men immediately think he's messing with them and start throwing questions at him all at once. He calmly tells them to relax and points toward the obstacle course. One of the veterans speaks up and says he took first place on a course just like this back in his army days. He asks if Sean is seriously questioning their abilities. Sean says it's nothing like that, then explains the mission clearly. Their job is to take down threats while staying within the law, and the client's safety is always the top priority. Then he decides to demonstrate what the training looks like and asks Brother Peng to start the timer. Sean runs the entire course in 58 seconds and wraps it up by hitting the target clean on the first shot like it cost him absolutely nothing. The veterans stare. One of them finally asks how, because looking at this kid, he's a lanky high schooler. Nothing about him says this should be possible. Sean nods and tells them they're completely right. He really is just a high school student. Then he leans in and says which means they need to be faster than a high school student, because if they can't manage that, it would be honestly embarrassing. A group of seasoned soldiers who can't even outperform one kid in school would have a hard time calling themselves protectors. That does it. The veterans instantly catch fire. They declare they'll show this kid exactly what a real soldier looks like, and without another word, they throw themselves into training. His team has finally been assembled, and he's going to use it to dismantle his enemy and everything they've built. The next morning, Sean heads back to the old district. He rings the doorbell of a worn-down house. A chubby elderly woman opens the door, squinting at them suspiciously, and asks what they want. The boys introduce themselves politely as a new security team operating in the area, just checking in to see if residents need any help. Whether it's loan sharks demanding protection fees, theft, anything like that. Then Sean looks her directly in the eyes and asks, has anyone in the area gone missing recently? Her expression shifts in an instant. Panic flashes across her face. She says quickly that everything is perfectly fine and shuts the door, and that's how nearly every interaction goes from there. Most people either refuse to talk or immediately change the subject the moment missing persons come up. Friendly tones go stiff and the fear behind their eyes is impossible to hide. During lunch, Officer He sighs and points out the obvious: there's no point investigating if the residents are this scared. He asks Sean what the real goal of all these questions actually is. Sean takes a calm bite of his melon bread and says his target is the Chen family. Officer He nearly chokes. He asks if Sean is serious, the Chens who practically run this entire district. Sean cuts him off and keeps going. Director Dong passed on information from the police department. 7 or 8 people have officially been reported missing in this area, and those are only the ones that actually made it into a file. Skilled officers were sent to investigate, but every single lead disappeared without a trace. The only group capable of running something this clean is the darker side of the Chen family operation. Just as Officer He warns him that he's playing with fire, that fire walks straight up to them. One of the locals they questioned earlier has already tipped off Scar, the thug who controls this block. Sean expected as much. A large organization that doesn't have informants everywhere would be a strange thing. Scar strolls up with a sneer and accuses them of having some serious nerve, poking around his territory without permission. Officer He steps forward to handle it, but Sean puts a hand on his shoulder and signals him to stand down. He'll take this one himself. He looks at Scar's ridiculous haircut and with a perfectly calm and smug expression asks whether a boss who gets this bent out of shape over someone chatting up his neighbors really deserves to call himself a boss. That smug attitude lights Scar up immediately. He orders his right-hand man, Big Mac, to go ahead and crush these fools. Big Mac launches his signature move, the human bowling ball, and charges forward to flatten everyone in his path. Officer He casually intercepts him before he even builds up speed, visibly unimpressed by the name of that attack. He slams Big Mac into the floor without a hint of mercy, straight into the gutter. Scar feels a chill run down his spine watching that, but he still sends 2 more guys forward to overwhelm Officer He. Meanwhile, Scar declares he'll personally humble the cocky high schooler himself. His own underling quietly questions why the boss is leaving the big guy to them and taking the smaller kid for himself. He gets yelled at for even asking. Sean hears that and invites the guy to take a shot if he really looks that easy. He points out it'd be a rough start to a street career, losing a fight to a high schooler on your first real outing. That provocation works perfectly. Scar gets pumped up and charges in, ready to put the kid in the ground. But the first person to hit the floor after eating a clean punch is Scar himself. Watching their boss get launched like that, the rest of them go completely still. Sean then gives the crew some practical advice. He never came here looking for trouble and they clearly don't have the numbers to flip this around. Best move is to drag their guys out of here and go home. Officer He watches their targets just walk away and asks Sean why he's letting them go. Sean uses a fishing analogy. Sometimes you don't reel the line in too fast, you let the fish swim a little and you wait. They fall in quietly behind Scar's crew and follow them back to their hideout. After the last of Scar's men head inside, Scar himself stops. Something shifts in his face. He checks his surroundings, then turns and walks in the opposite direction from home. He makes his way slowly around to the back of a warehouse where a black car is sitting and waiting. The driver gets out and pops the trunk. Watching from behind a wall, the boys immediately know whatever's in there, it's not legal. A large sack tumbles out of the trunk, and whatever is inside it is struggling and shifting hard. Scar shouts at the squirming, muffled sack and orders it to calm down and stop moving, and that's when it clicks for both of them. There's a person in that sack. They're watching a kidnapping happen right in front of them. Officer He is already about to rush in, but he catches himself when he notices the men starting to move. He turns to Sean looking for a call. The options are simple: watch, follow them, or bring the police in on the 2 right now. Right then, Sean stands up from behind cover and announces loudly that he's with the police, ordering Scar and his partner to freeze. Officer He is stunned by the sudden move, but commits to the act immediately. Scar and his buddy are rattled. How did the police track them here? But that panic fades fast when Scar takes a closer look and realizes he recognizes Sean. This isn't a cop. This is the same kid from earlier. His partner pulls out a concealed knife, ready to go. Scar tries to claim they're just security guards. The 2 of them start arguing amongst themselves about whether to fight or not, Scar doing his best to warn his partner that these are not ordinary security guards. These men are the real deal. Sean doesn't wait for them to finish the argument. He's already moving. Scar's partner lunges forward and goes for a stab. Sean parries it with ease and puts a hard punch straight into the man's face while Scar's warning still hangs in the air, unheard. The guy crashes back into the wall like a ragdoll. Scar watches that and visibly questions every decision he's ever made. He yells at his partner that he told him so, but stops mid-sentence when Officer He steps in and makes himself very much Scar's problem. The man towers over him and calmly asks why he thought running from them was going to go well. Officer He reminds him of a simple principle: the good times and the bad times, you face them together. Scar tries to argue they already shared enough bad times earlier today. Our boys conveniently forget that earlier encounter and proceed to deal with the criminals quickly and without much drama. Then they open the sack, and inside, tied up and gagged, is Yang Tianli, their former class rep. He looks up at his rescuers with wide, teary eyes, equal parts confused and relieved. Back at the police station in the interrogation room, Sean and Officer He sit down with Director Dong to hand over the blondie and go over this unexpected development. The director fills them in on Yang Tianli's situation. His father's trial went badly, the family home got seized, and on top of all of that, he was expelled from school. The guy had no safety net left and ended up on the streets, a brutal fall from grace even by this story's standards, and as if the universe hadn't already made its point, he almost got kidnapped on top of all that. Dong and the others shake their heads at his luck, but Sean cuts past the pity and asks directly about Scar and his crew. The director lowers his voice and says the interrogation's wrapped up. The men have loose ties to the Chen family and mostly just take paid gigs on the side. Sean asks what kind of gigs. The director says they move illegal goods to the warehouse district. Real high-class side hustle. Something clicks for Sean the moment he hears that the warehouse district belongs to the Chen family. The director lets out a tired sigh and explains the problem: their public-facing business is clean, and without solid evidence there's no legal ground to approve a search. The two of them step into the director's private office. A map of the area is laid out on the desk. Sean notices it immediately. The Yongfeng warehouse connects directly to the old city district through an abandoned railway line. Everything clicks into place. The Chen family is using the demolition chaos as cover to quietly build out this route and move their goods without drawing any heat. Sean tries to get the director to use the warehouse district's problems as legitimate grounds for an inspection. The old man starts sweating and hints that some unnamed higher-up has been shielding the Chen family from exactly this kind of scrutiny. Sean sees straight through the bluff and flips it right back on him. He points out that the director has been profiting from the old city demolition projects and lays out a straightforward deal. As long as the Chen family is removed from the equation, more projects mean more profit for everyone who cooperates. But to get to that, they first need to bring the Chen family down. Director Dong goes quiet, his expression tight. Sean tells him calmly a director in his position shouldn't be shrinking in front of insects like these. The old man suddenly raises his voice and declares he won't stand for this injustice, not for his own sake, but for every ordinary person out there who's suffered without answers. He says he'll absorb whatever pressure comes from above if that's what it takes. A faint smile crosses Sean's face. He says quietly that's exactly what he was hoping to hear. Sean extends his hand and asks for the official document authorizing police investigation assistance in the warehouse district. Director Dong blinks at the request but agrees before he even finishes processing it. He does remind Sean to be careful. The Chen family does not go easy on people who cause them problems. Sean gives him a confident smirk and replies that he's not easy to deal with either. The scene shifts to a rundown warehouse far from the city. Sean and his three-man squad are concealed nearby, watching. They study the layout, cameras covering nearly every angle, guards rotating without any gaps. For a moment, there's no obvious way in. Then Sean quietly pulls out a full map of the compound and lays it down. He points to one blind spot, a tall tree extending just far enough over one of the cameras. He assigns 2 men to slip in from that angle, cut the backup power, and kill the surveillance. The pair move out in the opposite direction while Sean and Officer He head toward the sewer line to make their own entry. At the sewer entrance, a few quick snaps of the bolt cutters take care of the bars and chains. The two slip inside and come up through a manhole into the facility. From there, they spot 2 guards who are completely slacking off, chatting right in the blind spot Sean had already identified. Our boys put them both down quietly and keep moving. They push deeper into the facility and what they find stops them cold. In a dark, filthy lab, rows of cages line the walls, each one holding a prisoner in terrible condition. Unhinged scientists move through the space freely, running cruel experiments on the helpless people locked inside without pause. It takes everything Sean and Officer He have to hold their anger in check. Sean takes one look at the setup and immediately recognizes it. This is what's known as matching. Officer He looks at him confused and asks what that means. Sean breaks it down plainly. Illegal organ trafficking right in front of them. Officer He is ready to charge in immediately and tear the place apart, but Sean stops him and pulls out his phone. They record everything first, solid, undeniable evidence, something they can actually hand over later. Once he's done, he nods to Officer He, and they both burst through the door. Every scientist in the room goes wide-eyed with shock. A gang of thugs materializes almost immediately and starts pulling the scientists away. Officer He pushes forward to secure the files, while Sean takes on the thugs and shields the prisoners. Officer He reaches for the documents in one of the workers' hands, but just misses. Meanwhile, the guards surround both of them, trying to pin them in place. And to make it worse, one of the scientists starts feeding stacks of documents into a shredder right in front of Officer He's eyes. More thugs pour in from every direction, sealing off the exits. The place is becoming a trap. Sean's mind is locked on the evidence. He makes another move toward the files, but the prisoners cry out, begging him to free them first. He hears them and he changes the plan. He tells Officer He to forget the papers. Getting the prisoners out is the priority. That fierce, absolute focus ignites in Sean's eyes as he throws another hard punch and declares, "Every single person in this lab is walking out of here alive." The next day, inside the police department archives room, Sean meets with the director and tells him all the hostages have been rescued. The rest he's leaving in the director's hands. Then he lays out the evidence, detailed records of the imprisonment operation, including full documentation on the medical procedures that were carried out. The director goes through everything carefully, then tells Sean he's uncovered something massive. This time, the Chen family will not be letting him walk away quietly. Sean smirks and says he sounds like a scared little cat already. The director snaps back and raises his voice. Why would he step back now when things have finally gotten interesting? The bullet is already loaded. It has to be fired. In the end, everything comes down to this one decisive move. The following day, a regular guy at a newsstand asks for a paper and wants to know what all the commotion is about. The seller tells him his missing son has come home safe. The man says he'd heard about the rising kidnappings lately and asks what actually went down behind the scenes. The seller tells him to just read the headline. The man reads it, stands there in shock. He wonders out loud how something like this was happening right under everyone's noses. Meanwhile, Director Dong steps up to a press conference and announces to the reporters that he has officially formed a special task force, one that reports directly to him and him alone. He assures the room that a thorough investigation will be carried out, covering the company and every single person connected to this case. One reporter pushes forward and asks what he plans to do if the Chen family turns out to be directly involved. With a firm grin locked on his face, he makes it crystal clear justice will be brought to whoever is behind this mess. No exceptions. Scene cuts to the Chen family estate, where Lord Jin, who is laid out on the cold floor, badly beaten by his own nephew. Yuchen stands over him and calmly assures his uncle that he'll be handling everything from here on out. Then he drops the sarcasm, calls his uncle an amazing watchdog. One that can only watch and accomplish absolutely nothing worthwhile. The warehouse got raided right under his nose and the entertainment city slipped through their fingers without a fight. Yuchen crouches down and asks his uncle if he truly understands the scale of what they just lost. All because someone managed to plant a microphone on him. Jinhu scrambles to reassure him, voice shaking, that it will never happen again. He begs for one more chance. Yuchen clicks his tongue, irritated. He mutters that he must have gone soft after working with this man for so long. Then, with a deceptively calm tone, the young master invites his uncle to join him for a quiet walk by the river. He turns to his men and tells them to clean Jinhu up and replace the carpet. It's far too filthy now for his tastes. The truth is, Yuchen had already decided to erase Jinhu from the very beginning. The walk was never going to be a walk. His men carry out the order without a second of hesitation and dump the body into the river like it's nothing, like he was never there. A subordinate reports back shortly after. Everything has been handled cleanly. Yuchen tells his men to disperse and orders the driver to head back. During the ride, his assistant pulls up footage from the warehouse security cameras and shows it to him. The moment Yuchen sees our boy's face on the screen, he immediately asks for the name. His assistant tells him Sean. The young master tilts his head and remarks that it's quite a bold name for someone like that. The assistant fills him in further. Their sources say Sean runs a security company under his own name and he has ties with the police. The warehouse raid itself was carried out by that very same security company. After hearing all of it, Yuchen bursts into laughter. Not a normal laugh, the kind that makes the people around him subtly uncomfortable. He finds this challenge a little too entertaining for someone in his position. He admits he initially wrote the guy off as some random nobody. But it turns out the fool walked straight into his world without even realizing what he was stepping into. At this point, it doesn't matter whether Sean is working alone or if someone is pulling strings behind the scenes. For daring to offend the Chen family, he will pay a very heavy price. Fast forward a few hours, Yuchen is back at the mansion. He dials a number and tells the person on the other end to hire the best cleaner available and get rid of our boy as soon as possible. But the voice on the other end snaps back, and it turns out to be his grand uncle, who immediately launches into a full lecture about the disaster Yuchen has caused. The old man tells him plainly he has deeply disappointed the family and dragged them into unnecessary trouble. As a result, they have decided to drop his succession rank and cut his assets in half. Yuchen tries to argue back, but his grand uncle shuts it down immediately and tells him to stay quiet, get on his knees at the ancestral hall and not say another word. The call ends abruptly. Yuchen stares at his phone, genuinely struggling to process what just happened. He slams it to the ground and starts ranting, going on about how the family treats him like a dog. Then, almost like a switch flips, the rant dissolves into manic laughter, and he decides to pin every single bit of his suffering squarely on Sean. Back to our boy. He's standing in line at the demolition compensation office, completely unbothered. The old man behind him strikes up conversation, asking if he's here for the payout too and wondering how many units he owns. Sean casually holds up 3 fingers. The old man blinks. 3 units. He is visibly shaken. Sean starts to clarify, then stops himself, because it's not 3 units, it's 3 buildings, and this old man's heart does not look like it's ready for that information. Finally, it's his turn at the counter. The staff slides the documents over and tells him to read and sign. He works through it all without rushing, and quietly reassures himself that all of this will pay off. Every calculated move, every sleepless night, it will be worth it. Over the next few days, the company officially takes shape. The veterans begin training in earnest. And ironically, the only time Sean actually gets to breathe is when he's sitting in a classroom. The next day, Lin Zai walks up to him looking genuinely impressed. He ranked at the top in the midterms. She tells him he must have worked really hard. Sean, completely oblivious to social norms, replies that he didn't study at all. He just relied on his natural intellect. That lands like a slap. She immediately tries to kick his leg and demands he give credit where credit is due, her tutoring. She grabs his tie and teases him, pointing out that he always gets nervous around girls. A crowd forms almost instantly. The male students are burning with jealousy watching their schools idol casually manhandle the new guy like this. Then someone pushes through the crowd and calls out to Sean directly. The guy announces that Sean's previous misconduct can no longer be overlooked. After discussing the matter with the disciplinary committee, they have officially decided to issue him a warning letter. Lin Zai steps in immediately and argues that Sean's situation is a special case. Student Council Chairman Joe reminds her that all special cases must go through the Student Council, no exceptions. Sean calmly tells Lin Zai to relax and asks the chairman to explain what exactly this is about. The chairman instructs him to publicly admit his mistakes at Monday's assembly. Students in the back start whispering among themselves, genuinely questioning whether the Student Council even has the authority to hand out punishments like this. Sean holds his ground and asks what happens if he refuses. Joe's expression goes cold. He says the Student Council will escalate the matter to the academic office, which could result in detention. Sean reads the room immediately. This isn't about school rules, this guy has an agenda. Lin Zai calls him out directly, saying this has gone way too far, but the arrogant chairman just smirks and asks Sean if he's going to be a good boy and comply. Our boy fires back. Does the chairman have any official approval from the principal or the academic office to enforce any of this? One of the chairman's lackeys jumps in and insists they don't need it. The student council has its own authority to issue punishments. Sean shuts that down flatly. This is nothing more than their personal decision dressed up in authority it doesn't have. He steps closer, looks the chairman dead in the eye, and asks whether he ever considered that there are certain people you simply should not mess with no matter what. Joe asks point blank if that's a threat. Lin Zai steps in right then, trying to defuse the tension before it escalates. She tells Sean to head home for now. Her dad will start worrying. Two walk off together, leaving the chairman standing there, absolutely fuming. He tells himself he will get his revenge, no matter what it takes. He heads straight to the academic office and starts unloading to Director Wang about how students today have zero respect for authority. He goes on, Sean skips class constantly, shows no discipline whatsoever, and had the audacity to challenge the student council directly. According to Joe, behavior like this cannot be tolerated under any circumstances. To his surprise, the director simply sighs, sets his coffee mug down slowly, and tells Joe that he needs to understand the full picture before pushing for any action. The chairman stays firm. The evidence speaks for itself. What is there to understand? The director explains that cases like this require a more delicate approach. That immediately irritates Joe, who demands to know what could possibly be so special about that scrawny guy. The director lays it out plainly. The principal and even the school board have personally put in a word for Sean. Joe goes completely silent. That was not what he expected to hear. The director continues, does the chairman really think he sits at the top of the food chain here? Because he doesn't. There are people above him that he genuinely cannot afford to cross. Joe grows even more frustrated, unable to wrap his head around the idea that someone like Sean has that kind of backing. The director stands up, looks him in the eye, and gives him one clear piece of advice: do not get on Sean's bad side. He points out that the Yang family once thought they were untouchable too. Look at how that ended. Joe doesn't take the hint and keeps pushing. Director Wang cuts him off and tells him to calm down and drop it. Getting nowhere, Joe storms out, telling himself that if he lets Sean walk on this, the guy will only get more arrogant. Behind him, the director sighs again and mutters that the younger generation really needs to develop some wisdom. Sometime later, the student council chairman ends up at a bar, drowning his frustration. The girls working there try to lighten the mood and tell him to relax. One of them gets a bit bold and suggests he just forget everything and enjoy himself tonight, but Zhao snaps. He shoves her aside and berates her for acting too familiar with him. Then he yells Sean's name at the top of his lungs. A voice cuts through the noise. Yuchen, sitting nearby, remarks that he must really hate Sean to be carrying on like this. Joe spins around and demands to know who was laughing at him. The blonde ignores the question entirely and instead points out the obvious: they share a common enemy. Putting two and two together, the chairman asks what kind of beef Yuchen could possibly have with Sean. Yuchen sidesteps the question and asks something more useful instead: is Joe interested in putting that arrogant brat in his place? The chairman admits it won't be easy. Sean has serious connections and going at him directly is a risk. Yuchen reassures him he already has a plan. He suggests they find somewhere quieter and discuss the details properly. Next day at school, Sean is asleep at his desk as usual, while Jai is desperately trying to wake him up. Teacher walks in and tells everyone to settle down, then turns to introduce a transfer student joining the class today. The familiar face standing at the front doesn't even attempt to hide anything. He introduces himself as Yuchen, calm as ever. That name, Sean is awake instantly, his eyes cut straight to the front of the room. The guy has changed his appearance, but those eyes, that same sinister look, Sean clocks it immediately. He starts running through every possible reason why Yuchen would be standing in his classroom right now. Meanwhile, the teacher scans the room looking for an open seat. By sheer coincidence, there's an empty desk at the back right next to Sean. Yuchen smiles, walks over, sits down, and tells Sean to take good care of him from now on. The audacity is truly something else. The scene cuts to Chen's mansion later that night. Strange, muffled laughter echoes through the halls. His bodyguards rush to his room and ask if everything is all right. He waves them off and tells them to get out and leave him alone while he does his homework. In reality, he's hunched over a detailed flowchart mapping out exactly how to destroy Sean step by step with maximum suffering. Phase 1, play nice, build trust, get close. Phase 2, identify every weak point, then squeeze each one until the guy completely loses his mind. He monologues to himself like a full-on villain while his bodyguards exchange glances in the background, quietly wondering if their young master has finally lost it for real. The next day at school, the students gather at the track for long-distance running. Yuchen scans the situation and remembers Sean has a strong sense of justice. That's the lever he needs. This is the perfect setup to kick off Phase 1. Everyone lines up at the starting line. The teacher signals and they're off. Sean takes the lead almost immediately. Running alongside him, Yuchen pretends to slip and dramatically shouts that he's going to fall. Sean doesn't even glance sideways. He keeps running like the guy doesn't exist. Cold, completely unbothered, the human equivalent of leaving someone on read. Yuchen is left standing there, genuinely confused about why his supposedly foolproof plan just flopped. He fumes internally. Did Sean seriously not notice him even after he called out? Right then, the sports teacher appears and claps a hand on his shoulder, saying he needs to be taken to the infirmary immediately after that fall. Yuchen tries to decline. The teacher isn't hearing it. He insists the fall looked serious and, ignoring every protest, scoops Yuchen up and carries him off the field while he throws an absolute tantrum. The man cheerfully mentions he was a professional weightlifter back in the day, then tells one of his students to take over before marching away with his unwilling patient. Jai watches the new kid get carried off like a princess and wonders out loud if the guy has something going on upstairs. Even Sean is genuinely unsure, is Yuchen actually this clumsy, or is all of this a deliberate attempt to get him to drop his guard? Next day chemistry class. The teacher tells the class to form groups and study. Yuchen sees his opening and walks straight over to Sean, who is busy sharing one brain cell with Jai. He asks if Sean can help him understand the lesson. Jai immediately blocks it. Sean already has a group partner. That partner is him. Yuchen tries to reason with him. Jai cuts him off and announces proudly that the number 1 seat next to Sean belongs to him and no one else is cutting in line. Yuchen stares at him, genuinely baffled that a person can feel that much pride about being someone's sidekick. Deciding it's not worth the energy, Yuchen backs off and returns to his own experiment. Jai even throws in a parting shot, if the new guy trips on flat ground like he did yesterday, he's going to shatter the ammonia bottles. That one catches Yuchen off guard. He nearly lets slip that the fall was intentional. He manages to hold it together, but the rage is building. He pulls out a mental notepad and adds Jai to his personal hit list. On the walk home from school, Linzai falls into step beside Sean and keeps chattering about everything and nothing. But Sean is barely registering a word of it. His mind is stuck on Yuchen and whatever game the guy is playing by trying to get close. He can't lower his guard, not even for a second. Then odd sounds coming from a nearby alley stop them both. Linzai wonders if it's a fight. Sean decides immediately to keep walking, not his problem. Around the corner, 2 thugs are shaking down Yuchen, demanding he pay a toll for walking through their territory. Yuchen immediately channels his inner drama student and wails that he's a broke, helpless nobody, someone save him. Linzai looks at Sean and asks if he's seriously not going to do anything. Sean spots a street stall up ahead and mentions casually that they're selling grilled sausages. Yuchen starts internally panicking, genuinely unsure if Sean actually missed all of that. He drops the act, grabs one of the thugs by the collar and quietly orders the man to throw a full-force punch at him. The thug stares at him like he's lost his mind, too scared to even consider it, so Yuchen threatens to take his fingers as a consolation prize. The thug, left with 0 good options, apologizes in advance and swings. Yuchen flies back from the impact but lands smiling, silently willing Sean to just look over here. The punch is so hard it knocks out one of his teeth, which, it turns out, is more fragile than his ego. And yet the absolute psycho orders his hired goons to keep going. Do not stop until the black-haired guy shows up to help. The thugs hesitate. He threatens to pull their teeth out barehanded if they disobey. That's enough to make them go pale and keep swinging. He screams loud enough that even Linzai, standing down the street, winces at the sound. Her sense of justice kicks in hard. She turns around and declares that she absolutely cannot stand by and watch a classmate get beaten like this. She marches straight toward the thugs wailing on Yuchen and tells them to stop. As if a stern voice from a high school girl is going to make career criminals reflect on their life choices. The guys click their tongues, annoyed it's not the black-haired target they were waiting for. Trying to stay civil by thug standards, they tell her this has nothing to do with her and suggest she leave. Linzai refuses. She plants herself in front of Yuchen and says it has everything to do with her. Protecting classmates is literally part of her personal code. Wonder Woman has entered the chat. She is now physically shielding Yuchen from his own hired goons, and he is trying very hard not to look amused. The purple-haired thug tells her to be a good girl and walk away. He warns her she might get hurt because he doesn't exactly go easy on girls. That backfires instantly. Linzai stands even firmer and tells him she doesn't negotiate with scumbags. Giving in now would only encourage them in the future. Purple hair bristles at being called a scumbag. He argues they're just poor students trying to earn some money. Linzai fires back without missing a beat. If beating up classmates is their best career move, they seriously need to rethink their life plan. Fed up with the lecture, the second thug rears back and throws a punch. Linzai flinches but holds her ground, bracing to take the hit. Right before it connects, Sean appears and intercepts it. Linzai's entire face lights up the moment she sees him. Meanwhile, Yuchen hides a satisfied grin behind his bloody lip. Finally, the plan is unfolding exactly as designed. Sean steps forward, tells the hoodlums to go back to whatever rock they crawled out from, and the thugs scatter without another word. He immediately turns to check if Linzai is hurt and scolds her for throwing herself into danger like that. He tells her not to pull something like that again. Yuchen cuts in right on cue, pouring on the gratitude. He puts on a flawless performance, a helpless transfer student with no friends yet naturally becoming a target. It's very convincing enough that it genuinely moves Linzai. She tells him without hesitation, if he ever gets bullied again, he can come to her. Sean gives him a warm smile too and says the same, they're classmates after all, he can reach out anytime. On the inside though, Sean is burning. This creep is trying to get close to his girl and he cannot do a single obvious thing about it right now. Yuchen happily shakes his hand. On the surface, smiles and handshakes. Underneath, two very different flames of revenge burning quietly, each one waiting for the right moment to explode. In the days that follow, Yuchen gradually worms his way into Sean's social circle. Nothing overtly suspicious, nothing that would trigger a reaction, but Sean doesn't lower his guard for even a fraction of a second. One morning, the blonde casually suggests they grab drinks after school. The sheer friendliness of it makes Jai deeply suspicious. This guy is clearly angling to steal his spot as Sean's right hand. Yuchen gets yelled at. He swallows it, keeps smiling and pushes forward. Getting close is the priority. Pride can wait. After school, he takes it a step further and shows up waiting outside Jai's house. Jai is stunned. This pest tracked him home. He demands to know why there's a rich transfer student standing at his front door. Yuchen explains he hasn't been bothered by anyone since he started hanging around Jai and Sean. He's grateful. As a thank you, he presents a brand new PS5 Deluxe. Jai has never seen anything that expensive up close in his entire life. For one brief, beautiful moment, every ounce of resentment toward this pest simply evaporates. Yuchen throws an arm around his shoulder and casually asks how close he and Sean actually are. Jai proudly says they're closer than brothers. Yuchen then asks, almost innocently, what Sean likes to do in his free time. Without thinking, Jai mentions that Sean mostly trains and manages his security company. Then he catches himself. That line of questioning is suspicious, very suspicious. Yuchen laughs it off and claims he's just curious. He wants to learn how to run a side hustle himself. The excuse lands about as convincingly as you'd expect. Later, our boy nearly chokes when Jai shows off the brand new console. He refuses to believe it was obtained legally. He accuses him of stealing his dad's credit card again and asks, didn't getting his backside destroyed last time teach him anything? Jai shivers just thinking about that belt lashing. He admits his iron backside does not have the durability for another round of that particular punishment. Then he puffs up with pride and announces he got the console completely for free. He reenacts the whole thing, how Yuchen practically begged him for details about Sean's business in exchange for the gift. Dollar signs flashing in his eyes, the man shamelessly admits he sold out. Zero guilt, zero shame. He does insist, however, that he knew the whole time how suspicious it looked, a rich transfer student suddenly wanting to learn about Sean's hustle. He says he upheld the bro code and never leaked anything actually important. Hearing that, Sean's faith in his friend is cautiously, partially restored. Jai follows up by bragging that he is, in fact, a master at draining people dry while giving them nothing in return. He then mentions that Yuchen invited him to meet near the river to drop the info. Sean casually asks what time the meeting was supposed to be. Jai grinds through the gears in his smooth brain and says about 2 hours ago. Then adds completely without shame that he never planned on showing up anyway. He laughs and says Yuchen is way too annoying to deal with, so he simply ditched him. Sean listens and quietly hopes the guy didn't wait too long in the cold. The weather has been brutal lately. Speaking of the cold, Yuchen is currently standing by the riverside, sneezing nonstop, shivering from head to toe, wondering where his informant is. His bodyguard creeps out from the bushes and quickly wraps a coat around him without a word. Yuchen snaps at him immediately. He reminds the man that he is a bodyguard, not a helicopter parent. If Jai had seen this, the entire undercover operation would have collapsed on the spot. The bodyguard doesn't budge, health comes first, and also it really looks like the bald kid stood him up. Yuchen refuses to accept that a broke idiot with an IQ lower than his hair count would have the nerve to ghost him. There's no way Jai's tongue wouldn't loosen after scoring a free console. No way. So he stays, stubbornly planted by the river, toughing it out all the way until midnight. The next morning he finds Jai, grabs him by the collar and demands to know why he never showed up. Jai tilts his head looking completely confused and asks, where was he supposed to go again? He shamelessly pretends he has absolutely no memory of agreeing to any meeting. Yuchen's eye twitches. Jai casually adds that it makes zero sense for him to agree to some late-night meetup with another guy anyway. That comment hits a nerve so raw that Yuchen nearly swings on him right there in the hallway. Then he spots Sean standing nearby on a phone call. He cannot blow his cover over a petty moment of spite. He lets Jai go, slowly, painfully. Before walking away, he leaves Jai with one final piece of advice. Someone with no talent and no brains really shouldn't be playing dirty games like this. Jai watches him leave and quietly concludes that this guy seriously needs therapy for those anger issues. After that, Yuchen shifts his focus entirely to Sean, who is openly talking business in the middle of the school hallway, completely unbothered. As Yuchen walks past, he catches something about an upcoming inspection in the military district. That immediately connects the dots: Sean's ties to the military, his relationship with Lin Zai and her family. It all lines up. It clicks for him now. That's how Sean assembled a team capable enough to raid the warehouse. Like a bargain bin snake from Metal Gear Solid, Yuchen thinks his target has absolutely no idea he's being eavesdropped on. That illusion shatters when he sneezes, loudly enough to alert every living creature within a 6-mile radius. Exposed, he immediately bolts, convinced he just uncovered the intelligence breakthrough of the century. Watching the man scramble away, Jai jokes that he looks like someone who owes money is chasing him. Sean grins and says debt is actually something Yuchen owes quite a lot of. Jai has absolutely no idea what that means. In his previous life, the Chen family's young master was an unbreakable tree towering above him, untouchable, unreachable. Now he's nothing more than a twig Sean can snap with one hand, but he's not going to let him off that easily. Every bit of suffering that was taken from him will be returned in full with interest. The Chen family will get on their knees, they will beg. Later at the Chen family mansion, Yuchen is in full tantrum mode. He orders his people to dig up every asset and financial record connected to Sean, including any money transfers linked to the Lin family. Follow the money carefully enough and you can map out everything about your target's operation. His bodyguard carefully suggests that this move is too reckless, especially after the higher-ups already came down hard on him for the warehouse failure. Yuchen tells him to stop making excuses. The bodyguard holds firm. The police director has his eyes on every move they make right now. On top of that, he reminds Yuchen that it wasn't exactly cheap to set Sean up with a fake identity and get him enrolled in school. Yuchen explodes. He yells that worrying about money is something peasants do. He even calls his own bodyguard human garbage, accusing him of thinking nothing can be accomplished without throwing cash at every problem. Then Yuchen pulls out his ultimate card, Daddy's Money. He yanks back the rug. It reveals a hidden safe built into the floor beneath it. He unlocks it right in front of the bodyguard, acting completely confident that no one would ever dare steal from him. He gestures proudly at the stacks of cash and gold bars, years of personal savings, more than enough to bulldoze whatever financial obstacles stand in the way. The bodyguard stares and tries again. Money is not the only issue here. The bigger problem is the legal exposure. Every move they make right now attracts attention they cannot afford. Yuchen laughs coldly at that. He says he already took the biggest gamble of his life the moment he decided to crush his enemy. He's too deep in this to pull back now. He orders his men to do whatever it takes to expose the connection between Sean and the Lin family. The bodyguard has no choice. He heads out to carry out the orders. After venting everything, Yuchen finally starts to calm down. He sits back and imagines Sean sitting somewhere right now, feeling smug about getting one over on him. An evil grin spreads across his face as he pictures exactly how Sean will look the moment his perfectly engineered downfall plan finally kicks into motion. Meanwhile, outside Sean's home base, a car sits quietly across the street. A photographer inside, camera ready, waiting for anything worth capturing. John calmly closes the window blinds, then tells Brother Peng that Yuchen right now is like a gambler deep in debt after a brutal losing streak, willing to throw every chip he has left on the table just to win something back. Brother Peng admits he never would have believed a high school student could push the Chen family's heir to this point. Playing it safe, he suggests they just let Director Dalm arrest Yuchen already. At this point, the guy might as well have crime printed on his forehead. John tells him that way of thinking is too simple. When someone from a family as deeply rooted as the Chens becomes a target, the law alone can't truly touch them. Worst case, they buy a new identity and vanish. Clean slate, as if none of it ever happened. And even if Yuchen is removed from the board, the Chen family will simply produce another threat, one that might be smarter and more dangerous than him. If you go after a snake and fail to kill it in one strike, you're the one who gets bit. The correct move is to defang it first. Strip it of everything it has piece by piece until it becomes so powerless that even its own family abandons it. Following that logic, Sean rolls out a map of the suburban area. The plan: stage a false military inspection and let word leak out. When Yuchen overheard that phone call, Sean is certain the man's first instinct was to find a way to cut Sean's connection to the military and to Lin Jingbei. Brother Peng thinks the plan is solid, but he's not sure one overheard phone call was enough bait to fully hook Yuchen. Sean already anticipated that. He tells him they'll plant more bait enough to pull the hook in tight, and he already knows the perfect person for the job. The most effective bait for Yuchen is someone he believes is completely under his control. Brother Peng looks at him carefully and asks, is he really serious about using Jai as bait? Sean explains that Yuchen has been trying to manipulate Jai from the very beginning, hoping to use his best friend against him. A carefully leaked piece of information coming from his closest companion is guaranteed to get Yuchen fired up and moving. Brother Peng isn't fully comfortable with that. Jai is still just an innocent student who'll have to deal with Yuchen's retaliation after the fact. Sean calmly replies Jai's innocence is exactly what makes him convincing. Yuchen will never suspect a setup, and it's not like he plans to throw his friend into genuine danger. Jai just needs to do what he already does naturally, act like a loud-mouthed, easily bribed guy who can't keep a secret to save his life. The next morning, Jai strolls up to Yuchen and acts warm and friendly like the previous brush-off never happened. Yuchen, still irritated, tells the clown to get out of his face. Jai leans in anyway and asks if he's really sure about that because he just so happens to have the latest update on Sean's business. Yuchen asks why he should trust someone who already played him once. He says losing a console doesn't bother him, he's loaded. Jai should just walk away. Jai shrugs and mutters something vague, then asks if Yuchen's actually interested or not. Mention of fresh intel hooks him instantly. He grabs Jai roughly by the collar and shakes him, demands to know exactly what he knows. Jai asks why he's suddenly showing all this attitude. Yuchen slowly releases his collar. Jai immediately takes advantage of the opening and says, since he's clearly loaded, this information is going to cost a lot more than last time. Yuchen reminds him he already got a console. What more does he want? Jai says the console was just the friendship fee. If he's not willing to go higher, the deal is off right now. He turns and starts walking away. Yuchen watches him go and feels the frustration crawl up his spine. In the past, he could have crushed someone like this without a second thought. Now he's standing here being held hostage by a bald kid with zero shame. Jai tosses back over his shoulder that he thought the guy had deep pockets, but maybe he's just a broke hobo after all. That does it. Yuchen stops him and asks what he wants this time. Jai says he wants the new iPhone. He's been hearing about it everywhere and never had the money to get one himself. Yuchen smiles and says that's a trivial matter. He pulls out his phone and starts the transfer. Jai reminds him to pay attention so he doesn't accidentally send it to the wrong account. Once the money goes through, Yuchen asks if that's enough now, recalling in the back of his mind that Sean once said Jai is petty to the core. Jai leans in and explains Sean asked him to cover for him because he'll be missing classes for a while. Company work. He asks what exactly is going on. Yuchen takes the opening and explains that Sean is heading to the western part of the city. The military is planning to inspect his company soon. Something about building a major logistics center in the area. Hearing that, Yuchen thinks it all checks out. It matches perfectly with what he overheard from Sean's phone call earlier. Still, he narrows his eyes and asks Jai directly, is this some kind of trap? There's no way Sean would share something this sensitive so easily. Jai just shrugs and says they're basically brothers. Sean trusts him with everything. Yuchen mutters that Sean's lucky to have someone like that. Then Jai casually adds, honestly though, the two of them are kind of cut from the same cloth. Yuchen then pushes for specifics, exact time of the inspection, name of the officer in charge. Jai gives him a look like he just asked the dumbest question alive. Asking something that specific would make him look like a spy on the spot. Isn't what he already shared more than enough? Jai then throws in one last jab. Yuchen's still playing at beginner level. He asks seriously how he plans to take on Sean with skills this week. He advises him to stay away from Sean before things get worse. Pushing for a tiny advantage while taking a massive loss isn't a strategy, it's just embarrassing. Yuchen snaps and demands to know why everyone keeps underestimating him. Jai says he's just being honest as a friend. Yuchen fires back, he should tell him everything he knows, and if he dares to betray him, he will make him regret being alive. Jai assures him he'd never do something like that. Their bond is rock solid. Then Jai leaves. Yuchen stands there, not entirely sure what to make of that guy anymore. But he talks himself into it. That clueless idiot probably won't do anything to disappoint him. He's too simple for that. He quietly forwards the details to his men, confident that once Sean loses his military backing, finishing him off will be clean and easy. Meanwhile, Brother Peng has eyes on both of them. He reports back to Sean Yuchen took the bait and is already messaging his men. Jai is safe. He asks what the next order is. Sean tells him to hold position. Letting Yuchen move freely means he'll expose himself further. Brother Peng confirms he'll stay put, then his phone rings. He tells Sean he has to take the call. He picks up and whatever he hears stops him cold. The color drains from his face. He tells the caller he's on his way and will be there soon. It's his little brother. His condition has taken a sudden turn for the worse. He's been rushed to the hospital. Brother Peng paces anxiously outside the operating room while the doctors work inside. His brother is fighting for his life. The doctor finally steps out and asks if the patient's family is present. Brother Peng steps forward and says he's his older brother. The doctor tells him the situation has worsened significantly. He pulls out the heart scan and explains the congenital condition has developed complications that were not there before. Brother Peng's voice cracks as he asks what the doctor is talking about. He was told they could delay the treatment. The doctor explains that this is a rare case. Complications happen even with the best planning. Brother Peng asks directly what happens to his brother if he doesn't get treatment. The doctor says it plainly, 3 months. That hits Brother Peng like a physical blow. The doctor continues, standard surgery only gives a 30% success rate in a case like this, but there is another option. A new drug has recently become available. Combined with surgery, it raises the success rate to 80%. Brother Peng's face lifts slightly. He asks immediately, how much does the drug cost? The doctor explains that his brother will need 3 full treatment courses. With surgery and all associated costs, the total will exceed the price of 2 kidneys. That answer lands hard. But the doctor mentions there might be another way to help. He hands over a card and explains he knows a supplier who can provide a generic version of the drug. It carries about 70% of the original drug's effectiveness at a fraction of the cost. Of course, taking that route means accepting a risk on the quality of the medicine. Right at that moment, Sean walks in and grabs Brother Peng's hand firmly. He looks at the doctor and says they'll take the real medicine. He wants the best treatment plan, the best available ward, and he wants it started immediately. He makes it crystal clear they are not cutting corners. Money is not the issue. The doctor looks at him like he's bluffing and asks if he even understands what this is going to cost. Sean doesn't flinch. He pulls out his checkbook and writes a check for 1 million right there on the spot. He says this is just the advance. If it falls short, he'll cover the rest later without hesitation. The doctor stares at the check, stunned. Sean tells him it's valid and it's already sealed. Brother Peng tries to stop him. He can't accept this. Sean tells him to calm down and focus on what actually matters right now. Money comes and goes, but if his brother dies, that's permanent. There's no coming back from that loss, and no amount of money can fix it after the fact. He turns back to the doctor and tells him to move the patient to a VIP ward and begin treatment immediately. The doctor nods quickly and says he'll handle everything personally. He heads off without another word. Brother Peng stands quietly, thinking back. There was a time when he believed he could actually make a difference in this world. Then reality crushed that belief out of him, slowly and completely. He understands now that some things are beyond a person's control, and enough small, relentless hits will eventually break even the strongest will. Then he looks at Sean and tells him if they had met even a little later, he might not be standing here right now. He might have ended up working for some gang boss or something far worse. Sean tells him to leave the past where it belongs. They're brothers now, so he'll take care of his family, and Brother Peng just has to watch his back. Later that night, a black car pulls up at an undisclosed location. Yuchen steps out. He looks around at the rundown surroundings and remarks that it's quite the shabby little place, and this is where Sean is supposed to reveal his grand plan. His men confirm this is the right spot. He says Sean has some interesting methods for building power quickly. He'll give him that much. One of his subordinates adds that their intelligence confirms military personnel will arrive for an inspection in 4 days. Yuchen asks for the exact time and the current security situation on site. His subordinate reports 2 p.m. For now, the site only has a handful of guards. But on the day of the inspection itself, Dragon Shield Securities will be running the entire operation. Hearing that, the young master smiles and mocks Sean for clinging to the military like a stray dog looking for scraps. He says he'll crush him right in front of them without even breaking a sweat. Then he declares if this is a stage, Sean will be the clown performing on it. They get back in the car and leave. On the ride back, Yuchen starts laying out a plan. His lackey asks what he's thinking. He points toward the storage area on the map and says he wants an accident to happen there on the day of the inspection. Done right, no one gets seriously hurt, but the embarrassment will be massive and impossible to ignore. He lays it out step by step. First, they send people in with banners to create chaos and draw attention. Then, under cover of that confusion, they set the storage area on fire. The military watches Sean scramble to contain a disaster at his own facility, and concludes he can't even manage basic security on his own property. The lackey asks what if the situation spirals out of control? Yuchen snaps at him. They've dealt with worse. There's no point pretending otherwise. He orders him to contact every reliable man still in the city right now. Promise them a solid payout when the job is done, plus a clean exit from the city afterward. The lackey lights up at the mention of the reward and guarantees the job will be handled without a problem. Yuchen leans back, savoring it. He can almost see the despair on Sean's face already. The next morning, the military arrives at the construction site. Dragon Shield's security team is already in position. Officer Changshin introduces Staff Officer Wang to the security company Sean built and explains how he specifically recruited veterans for the team. The vice captain steps forward and makes his introduction. Changshin introduces himself in return. Staff Officer Wang says he'll personally inspect the site before making any judgments. The vice captain takes the lead and suggests they start with the main training ground. Then, loud noise erupts near the entrance. A rally materializes right at the gate. People holding banners high, chanting slogans accusing Dragon Shield security of violence and demanding justice. A man pushes forward on crutches, claiming Dragon Shield's members beat him badly and demanding revenge. Then a woman steps up and says her son was beaten by them too, calling for the police to arrest the whole group. Staff Officer Wang turns to Changshin and asks what on earth is going on. Changshin says he has absolutely no idea. They both look to the vice captain, who also denies everything outright. He insists his team would never do something like this. Changshin says he believes them without hesitation. The man on crutches suddenly surges forward and shouts that Sean is a mafia boss who deserves to be crushed by the iron fist of justice. Seeing things escalate, the team moves to respond. But Changshin quickly holds them back. If they react physically now, it only makes the accusations look legitimate. The vice captain stands frozen, struggling to process what he's watching unfold. Meanwhile, back at school, Yuchin is glued to a live stream of the whole thing. He thinks it looks incredibly convincing. The chaos is unfolding exactly as planned. He's nearly enjoying himself until something catches him completely off guard. He looks up from the stream and spots Sean sitting in the cafeteria, calmly eating lunch like he hasn't a single care in the world. Our boy is casually stuffing rice balls into his mouth while scrolling through his phone. The energy of a man who is absolutely not stressed about anything. Jai leans over and asks what he's watching so intently. Sean grins and starts loudly discussing an epic boxing match, just loud enough to make sure Yuchin catches every word. Yuchin cannot believe what he's seeing. His company is supposedly getting dragged through the mud in real time, and this guy is watching sports highlights. Then static crackles through Yuchin's earpiece. He checks the live feed and the color drains from his face. The police have arrived way too fast. Officers move in quickly and immediately detain one of the so-called victims. The director calls out the man by his real name and asks, how exactly did his leg manage to break and receive full treatment within just a few hours? The man starts sweating as the officer picks apart every inconsistency without breaking stride. The fake accident, the staged injuries, all of it is a setup. Director Dong steps in looking completely in control and orders his team to arrest every single slanderer on the scene. His squad rounds them up swiftly and without unnecessary force. Even Staff Officer he looks genuinely surprised at how fast the police response was. The seasoned veteran scans the surroundings with sharp eyes. His gaze settles on a silhouette standing high on a nearby rooftop. From up there, one of Director Dong's men confirms the entire incident has been captured on film. The scarred veteran can't help but feel a new level of respect for the calculated precision of Sean's counter. Back in the classroom, Yuchin is trembling. None of this makes sense. The police were never supposed to show up, and it is only now slowly that the full picture starts assembling itself in his mind. He turns around and Sean is already looking at him with a satisfied grin. Yuchin finally understands he got played, completely and thoroughly outmaneuvered. He was supposed to be undercover. He slams his fist against the desk in frustration. A girl walking by recognizes him as the transfer student and pauses to ask if he's feeling all right. Her voice snaps him back to reality. He remembers where he is. He is undercover. He needs to hold it together. He forces out a pained smile and mutters that his stomach is acting up expired milk. Then he storms off. Jai watches him go and wonders out loud if his homie did something to push the blonde guy over the edge. Sean drops a quiet line of wisdom. Mad dogs always bark the loudest right before the end. But none of that noise changes where they're headed. Then he pulls out his phone and sends Director Dong a quick thank you text. Good work deserves acknowledgement. Meanwhile, in the boys' bathroom, Yuchin is in there alone, slamming stall doors and spiraling. He walked into a trap he never saw coming, and Sean didn't even appear to know who he was. That's the part that stings the most. He's convinced he never did a single thing to expose himself. The plan was flawless. It should have been flawless. Then it hits him, the only possible crack in the plan, the one person he bribed for information. He's starting to think that foolish decision may have cost him everything. He gains a grudging sliver of respect for his target. If even Sean's subordinates can dismantle his schemes, then maybe he severely underestimated them. But one thing still doesn't add up. Jai should have had no idea that the info he handed over was going to be used to attack Sean's company. A deeply unsettling thought creeps in. What if Jai was the one pulling the strings the whole time? That idea almost makes him laugh. Maybe his real enemy isn't Sean at all. Maybe he's been focused on the wrong person from the very beginning. Then someone knocks on the stall door and tells him to open up and come out. He freezes. His mind starts running through every person in Sean's orbit trying to figure out who it could be. Getting cornered in a bathroom stall would absolutely top the list of most humiliating moments of his life. Then the voice clarifies it's just the janitor. He needs to clean the stall and get home. Yuchen exhales slowly. He's been overthinking it. He steps out, forces a polite smile, and apologizes to the janitor for the inconvenience. The janitor, completely unfazed, tells him not to cause trouble for others. Even the cleaning staff is giving him life advice today. The humbled young master apologizes again and blames the delay on constipation. The janitor, genuinely concerned, offers to walk him to the infirmary if he's not feeling well. Yuchen composes himself, steps out into the hallway, and greets a few passing girls like he didn't just have a complete breakdown 5 minutes ago. The girls immediately start smiling. He has that effect, apparently. To them, he looks like an adorable puppy who could cure a bad day just by existing. Yuchen almost dies inside, realizing that all this effort building a warm and cheerful persona has earned him nothing but being treated like something cute and harmless. The real reason he's keeping up this act is still out there, waiting. Later at the inspection site, an officer confirms to Director Dong that all the troublemakers have been detained. Several of them already had criminal records, a few were even on wanted lists. Aside from the extra profits coming his way through the demolition projects, the director looks especially pleased with the bonus gift Sean just handed him, a stack of criminals gift-wrapped with evidence. Staff officer, he notices the barely concealed pride glowing on his face. The director stays modest, saying it's all thanks to his friends over at Dragon Shield Securities who tipped him off well in advance. Right on cue, Brother Peng calls out his thanks from nearby, his sheer size making the gesture feel just slightly intimidating. The captain remarks that this company's methods are genuinely impressive. With everything wrapped up, they move on to the next site. Director Dong immediately updates Sean. He made sure to share credit for the 3 wanted criminals they brought in. The only loose thread left is Yuchen. He suggests bringing him in directly to the office. But Sean has other plans. He wants to let the mad dog run free for a few more days before finally putting him down, make him sweat a little. Even so, something bothers him. Yuchen hasn't shown up at school. He checks around his own house, his mom's shop, and quietly scans the area around Linzai's place. Nothing looks out of the ordinary, no movement anywhere. That actually makes him more uneasy. An egomaniac like Yuchen would never just sit at home and sulk quietly after being humiliated this badly. He's planning something. Later that day, Jai is passed out at his desk after class. Sean wakes him up. Jai grumbles that he barely slept the night before and is running on empty. Sean gives him a firm warning: stick to his usual route home, no detours. Yuchen's location is unknown right now, and that makes everyone close to Sean a potential target. The guy is out there somewhere, waiting for the right moment to strike. That night, Sean eats dinner with his mom, but his eyes keep drifting back to his phone. The area around his house, Linzai's place, his mom's shop, all clear. Completely, almost suspiciously clear. His mom picks up on the tension and asks if something is wrong at the company. He tries to deny it and she hits him with a sudden shout, telling him to put the phone down and eat her cooking while it's still hot. She remains the one and only person in either of his lives who can genuinely make him flinch. But then his phone rings at the worst possible time. It's Jai. Jai calling at this hour is not normal, not even a little. And the moment he sees the name on the screen, his gut drops. He picks up and asks if everything's all right. What he hears on the other end is Jai sobbing, barely able to get the words out that his mom has been taken. Sean is out of his chair before the sentence is even finished. He demands to know exactly when it happened. Sitting alone at the dinner table, Jai explains that when he came home, the front door was already wide open. Furniture scattered everywhere, no sign of his mom anywhere, just a note left behind by the kidnappers. Sean asks what it says. Jai reads it aloud: show up alone at the old brick factory in the suburbs. No weapons, no police, or he'll get his mom back without her soul. Sean immediately places the location. That factory is one of Jinhoo's old properties, sealed off years ago after operations shut down. Burning with rage, he's almost impressed. Yuchen never fails to find a new low to sink to. Even so, his mind is already moving. If the bastard wants to play dirty, he'll get a response just as hard. First, he tells Jai to get out of the house right now and drive straight to his place. They'll meet at the park on the corner. On the other end of the line, Jai completely breaks down, sobbing about what he's supposed to do if she doesn't make it back. He's clutching the ransom note so hard his knuckles are white, swearing he can't go on without her. Sean tells him plainly he is bringing her back from that Chen bastard by any means necessary. With that, he hangs up and makes straight for the front door. He packs everything he needs into his bag and sets off. This is the night Yuchen finally gets everything that's been coming to him. But before he even makes it out, he runs straight into a bigger obstacle, his mom. She asks him where exactly he thinks he's going at this hour. He tells her casually that he's heading out to study with his friend. Normal stuff, she doesn't buy a single word of it. But then she surprises him, she lets him go anyway and simply tells him to stay safe. Those quiet words hit him harder than he expected. He steps out and tells her to keep his food warm because he's going to be starving when he gets back. At the park, he finds Jai hunched over on a cold bench, completely wrecked. Tears running non-stop down his face, the guy immediately starts complaining about how long Sean took to arrive and reminding him again and again that his mom's life is on the line. Sean calmly reassures him and quietly asks for the note. He studies it carefully under the dim park light and immediately notices the text is not handwritten. It's been printed, neat and clean. Jai asks in genuine confusion why his family would ever be targeted. They've never gotten involved in anything. The most offensive thing he's ever done in his life is talk trash in Counter-Strike. He goes completely still when Sean admits the truth, his family was targeted because of him. Yuchen is the Chen family's heir and Sean has been openly clashing with him for a long time now. Every humiliation, every loss, it all stacked up. And this is the retaliation. He should have dealt with that guy properly when he had the clean opportunity. The fact that his mom was dragged into this is entirely on him, and he means that sincerely. Jai suddenly cuts him off. He tells him to stop with the apologies. His boss is supposed to be the one who steps up and fixes the problem, not the one sitting here explaining how it happened. What he wants right now is not an apology. He wants to see Yuchen get what he deserves. He adds that Sean is the most savage guy he knows, and above everything else his best friend. For the sake of that friendship and everything owed, our boy sets off without a moment's hesitation, ready to finally give Yuchen everything he's had coming. He gets in the car and immediately gets on the radio with his team. Brother Peng reports that his little brother's condition is improving steadily. He's ready to move the moment the order comes. Sean orders him to quietly lock down the entire perimeter around the abandoned brick factory. Everyone holds on standby. 2 trusted men are to stay on guard at his home at all times. Brother Peng confirms he's already assigned both teams in advance. Next, Sean calls Director Dong, who is already fully up to speed. The director explains that his criminal investigation team and technical support units are positioned at a safe distance from the factory grounds. Sean is glad to hear it but warns him to push his men further back. Moving in too early might tip Yuchen off before it's time. The director agrees immediately and promises to hold position until Sean personally gives the signal. Even this usually pragmatic man admits he's genuinely worried. Sean is walking into a dangerous place alone and empty-handed. Sean acknowledges that, but there's no other realistic option right now. This is the only way to guarantee the hostage stays safe. Besides, Yuchen would never end things quickly. He'd want to drag it out, savor every second of it. The director says he believes in him. Sean always has a plan, but Sean can't fully shake the unease sitting in his chest. The plan to bait and humiliate Yuchen worked, but only on the surface. He underestimated his enemy, and now he's walking straight into a trap because of it. He tightens his grip on the steering wheel, frustrated that even in this new life, some things haven't changed. Then the thought hits him, if something happens to Jai's mom, he doesn't know how he'd carry that. Every time he looked at his friend or caught his own reflection in a mirror, it would stay with him. That's exactly why failure is not an option tonight. He takes a slow, steady breath and forces his focus back to the mission. Over the radio, his team reports that the brick factory has no cameras. However, they're detecting heat signatures, likely Yuchen's men already positioned inside for an ambush. Sean asks for their exact locations. His team responds they're spread across 3 separate angles covering the interior. He processes that and gives his orders. Team 2 holds on standby regardless of what happens. Team 3 waits and moves in immediately on his signal and his signal alone. He pushes the gas down hard and drives at full speed until the factory comes into view. Outside the brick factory, he steps out of the car and looks up at the building. His sharp eyes catch a faint reflection in one of the upper windows. Yuchen, or one of his men, watching from inside. From up above, the young master watches and feels genuinely satisfied that his target actually came alone, exactly as demanded. His bodyguard isn't as confident and warns that this could be bait, they might end up surrounded before they know it. Yuchen just grins and says that much is obvious. But this time, they hold the advantage. They have a hostage Sean cannot walk away from. The poor woman, tied up and gagged with duct tape, whimpers quietly in the corner. The blonde bastard leans toward her and asks if she's happy. Her son's closest friend came all this way just for her. He laughs like a man who has completely lost it, already savoring what comes next. All he wants is to see Sean's face crack. That's the only thing that matters right now. In his mind, this is his stage and Sean will play exactly the role that was written for him. On a nearby table, C4 is already wired and armed, ready to go off on command. Outside, Sean speaks quietly through the radio and tells Brother Peng he's heading in. Brother Peng responds, if there's no signal within 3 minutes the team breaks in. Sean doesn't reply, he cuts the radio and moves forward into the dark, scanning every shadow, every corner, every hiding spot as he advances. Then Yuchen steps out and asks if he'd like some light. A performance doesn't work if the stage isn't properly lit. Sean tells him to stop running his mouth and show him the hostage. Unbothered by the tone, Yuchen claps his hands and begins his little production. Studio lights rigged nearby flicker on and a spotlight falls directly onto Jai's mom. The blonde villain tells Sean to play along if he wants her to still be breathing when this is over. He points to a red circle painted on the ground and Sean steps inside it. Without blinking, he says this is nothing, he's ready for whatever Yuchen thinks he can throw at him. That draws a satisfied smirk from Yuchen. He says a good show takes time and they haven't even introduced all the actors yet. Then he presses a remote and a shutter nearby rolls open. Sean's eyes go wide when he sees another person tied to a chair inside the newly revealed room. He stares, completely baffled because he has absolutely no idea who this random old man is. Yuchen makes note of his confusion and reveals it, the man is the school janitor. Sean looks at him like he just said something in an entirely different language, but Yuchen carries on eagerly and lays out the choice. Either he saves his best friend's mother, or he saves the innocent man who spends his days cleaning up after everyone at school. No tricks, no strings, but whichever one he doesn't choose gets shot on the spot and their blood will be entirely on his hands. Laughing like a complete maniac, Yuchen tells him to move fast because he only has 10 seconds to decide. Against every expectation, Sean smiles. He says 10 seconds is more than enough. Yuchen goes quiet. He genuinely cannot figure out what that means. Sean steps out of the red circle and says he's going with a third option. He will save both hostages and put Yuchen behind bars before the night is over. Yuchen starts sweating. He never accounted for this level of audacity. Panic sets in and he screams at his men to stop wasting time and move in. A masked gunman steps out from behind the janitor and takes aim at Sean. The shot fires, and Sean dodges it on pure reflex. The shooter re-aims. Sean spots a pile of rubble nearby, grabs a brick and sends it flying straight at the shooter, hitting him clean and dropping him on the spot. First shooter down, he immediately pivots toward the second one he clocked earlier in the window. He drops low, grabs another chunk of cement, and hurls it straight into the man's face. But something feels off. He distinctly heard more than 2 positions accounted for. That suspicion is confirmed when third gunman locks onto him from above. The man warns him to stay completely still unless he wants a bullet through his skull. Sean tells him to do it and rushes straight at him. He reaches the man in seconds, but the shooter doesn't fire. Sean tells him to drop the amateur act, moving like the professional he actually is. He strips the man's weapon and drives him hard into the wall. The guy hits the ground and doesn't get up. 3 down, Yuchen screams in rage and desperation. The professionals he paid good money for turned out to be an absolute waste of it. Every single one of them folded against one person. With no moves left, he plays his final card. He calls for his backup to emerge. His backup, who never in their wildest dreams expected a high schooler to dismantle a 3-man ambush like it was nothing. Yuchen's personal bodyguard steps out alongside a massive guard dog and swears on his honor that he will not allow the young master to be touched. The dog opens its jaws and lets out a thundering bark. Sean actually laughs. He says both the dog and the bodyguard are loyal in their own way, faithful dogs, the pair of them. The bodyguard takes genuine offense at that, but Sean tells him it was a compliment. Unconditional loyalty is a rare thing, he means it. The real tragedy is that this man chose to dedicate that loyalty to someone who is, at the end of the day, a walking pile of garbage. Taking the insult to his master personally, the bodyguard orders the dog to attack. The animal moves far faster than its size suggests. But it doesn't scare Sean at all. He pulls back and delivers one solid strike to the dog's back with his baton. It drops on the spot without another sound. Watching his professionally trained animal go down that fast leaves the bodyguard momentarily speechless. Then he gets even more confused when he sees Sean charging straight at him without a flicker of hesitation. Man freezes and Sean launches into the air and drops him with a single punch. His head meets the ground before he even processes what just happened. Everyone is down. Sean turns to face his final target. His eyes go wide when he sees Yuchen actually doing something himself for once instead of hiding behind people he hired. Yuchen is sprinting toward a barrel of oil with C4 strapped to it. Sean briefly wonders if this psycho is seriously unhinged enough to blow himself up just to take Sean down with him, but he's not planning to let it get that far. He reaches into his bag and pulls out a grappling device. He throws it upward, and it locks firmly onto one of the rafters above. He swings across the room like his name is Peter Parker, closing the distance in seconds. Meanwhile, Yuchen genuinely convinces himself this is still a win. If they both go out together, it's not a loss. In his twisted logic, this is the only way a man like him can still claim victory. Or so he thinks, until Sean comes down from behind and slams him hard into the floor. He's been waiting for a moment like this for what feels like a lifetime, a chance to personally deal with this man with his own hands. Then out of nowhere, Yuchen calls for a timeout. He says killing him changes nothing at this point. He's already been stripped of his position as the Chen family's successor. But he warns that his low status doesn't mean Sean walks away clean if he harms him today. Because his older brother, Xuan Chen, is set to become the next family head. That name Sean freezes for just a moment. Memories surface, a man who handed him water during what turned out to be his final mission. He remembers now with unsettling clarity that man put something in the cup. He tries to piece together how deep that connection runs, how far back it goes, how much of his past failure traces back to that moment. Then Yuchen's laughter yanks him back to the present. The blonde bastard sounds completely confident that his big brother will make sure Sean pays dearly for all of this. Just picturing the suffering he'll bring down on Sean and everyone around him seems to fill Yuchen with genuine excitement. For the first time in this new life, those words land somewhere deep and uncomfortable. Sean's fist clenches. He has no immediate answer and Yuchen keeps laughing louder and louder. After a long moment, he lets it go. He switches his earpiece back on and calmly tells Director Dong to move his team in. Yuchen is still laughing as Sean confirms over the radio target has been neutralized. Both hostages are safe. Later, in Director Dong's office, the man gives Sean his compliments on a clean operation. Then, with a more serious expression, he says he has bad news and slides over a printout of messages pulled from Yuchen's phone. Sean's chest tightens when he sees the name. Xuan Chen. It's a request from the Chen family's true successor asking for Sean's full profile in case Yuchen's hostage plan fell apart. Meanwhile, at the Chen family mansion, a man calmly works through every piece of data gathered on Sean. He finds the profile genuinely fascinating and begins studying every detail with growing interest. And from that interest, an idea forms. He wants to get close to this person himself. He picks up his phone immediately and orders his people to arrange a seemingly natural encounter with Linzai. It has to look completely coincidental. On top of that, he plans to enroll in Sean's university through a reserved seat next semester. Every second, his curiosity grows. He genuinely wants to see for himself who it was that his disappointing little brother couldn't handle. In his view, outmaneuvering an enemy is straightforward. To bring a dog to heel, you start with its owner. Back at the police station, Brother Peng spots Sean walking with his face buried in his phone and calls out to warn him about the glass door ahead before he walks straight into it. Sean glances over at his partner, who is still riding the high of hearing that Yuchen was handed a 15-year sentence. The man thinks they can finally breathe again, but Sean barely reacts. His attention drifts right back to his screen. That rightfully irritates Brother Peng, who asks why he still looks anxious after removing his biggest threat. Linzai had texted him earlier saying she needed to talk about something important, so he texts back that they can sort it out at school tomorrow. Meanwhile, back at her home, Linzai is in the middle of a serious conversation with her parents about leaving school. She finally speaks up and says she's genuinely found her footing there. She feels at home and she's even made real friends. But her father is firm. The Lin family's base of power is the capital. That's the only place where he can guarantee her safety. She pushes back. Yuchen is behind bars now, so the Chen family's grip on the city shouldn't be the issue anymore. Her parents counter that there's no guarantee another Chen won't step in to fill the gap. She gives in but asks for one thing, the chance to say a proper goodbye to the people she's leaving behind. Meanwhile, in the police station interrogation room, officers are pressing Yuchen hard to give up names behind the organ trafficking operation. The guy just smirks back at them, completely unbothered, treating the whole thing like a circus he's mildly entertained by. Same answer as always. He has nothing to say to the police. That pushes the officer to the edge. He says Yuchen is like a pig sitting in water that's slowly being brought to a boil, too arrogant to notice. He lays it out plainly. His family is not coming to save him this time. With confirmed charges of organ trafficking and kidnapping already stacked against him, the only realistic way to shorten his sentence is to cooperate and give up his crew. Yuchen finally decides to speak. He says he needs to use the bathroom right now. The officer tells him he can handle that after he squeezes out a confession first. Yuchen refuses to budge, so the officer snaps that he can go in his pants for all he cares. His partner quickly steps in and cools things down, reminding him that this kid still has powerful people behind him. There's no telling how they'll respond if things go sideways. The officer shifts his approach. He tells his partner to let the kid go but to keep eyes on him every single second. His partner leans in and warns Yuchen to make it quick and not try anything stupid. Inside the restroom, the janitor turns out to be a plant, carrying a message from the Chen family head. Yuchen waits in tense silence, knowing what comes next will define everything. The message is simple: cooperate fully, confess to everything, and one wish will be granted. He bites down on his frustration at the terms being placed in front of him. After sitting with it, he makes his decision. He agrees to the family's offer without hesitation. His one condition: Xuan Chen makes Sean's life a living nightmare, the kind of suffering that makes a man wish he'd never been born. The messenger calmly confirms he'll pass it on exactly as spoken. Then he folds a small piece of paper and presses it into Yuchen's hand, a quiet farewell from the family, wishing the young master luck. Next day at school, Jai spots a letter in Sean's hands and immediately jokes that it's a love letter. It's actually a formal birthday party invitation from Lin Zai. Jai's eyes light up instantly. He declares this is Sean's big chance and asks what he's planning to bring as a gift. The guy who is clearly destined to stay forever single pipes up with unsolicited advice. Girls, he says, want two things from a gift: something expensive and something that means something to them specifically. Think custom jewelry or a premium fragrance. Sean tells him he already has the perfect gift in mind. That immediately makes Jai's curiosity go into overdrive and he starts fishing hard for details. Sean tells him it'll be revealed at the party. Spoiling it now would defeat the entire point, wouldn't it? That visibly frustrates Jai. Even as the best friend, he has to wait like everyone else. The disrespect. Meanwhile, Sean can't shake a quiet unease about whatever Lin Zai wants to talk to him about. He's been getting a bad feeling ever since her text came in. He hopes it's just him overthinking, but he knows himself well enough to know it probably isn't. On the day of the party, high-class guests arrive in waves, each one showing up with gifts that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Jai stands at the entrance watching them all and starts feeling very aware of how his outfit is holding up in comparison. Sean, on the other hand, looks clean and composed in a freshly tailored two-piece suit. At the entrance, Sean shows his invitation and casually tells the guard that the slightly lost-looking guy next to him is his +1. The staff welcomes them into the banquet hall where premium wine is already being served to the guests. Because Sean received a special invitation, the butler personally escorts him to the VIP room. The moment Jai steps inside and sees the spread of food laid out before him, he completely loses his composure. He had been voluntarily fasting for the past 24 hours just to make sure he had the stomach space to do this properly. Sean tells him to pace himself before he ends up regretting it midway through. Right then, a well-dressed man approaches and greets Sean with a formal, measured tone. He compliments his outfit and says it suits someone with his reputation quite well. Jai, mouth full of cupcake, looks over and wonders out loud who this overly polished rich guy is supposed to be. The man introduces himself, Lin Zai's cousin, Lin Jun. He offers a polite handshake and Sean takes it and keeps things humble. His reputation, he says, is nothing remarkable, just small things here and there. Lin Jun doesn't take the modest deflection. He says dismantling Yuchen on his home turf is anything but small. He adds that he values making friends who are genuinely capable, people who can actually back up what's said about them. That said, he doesn't trust rumors. He prefers to see things with his own eyes. With that in mind, Lin Jun suggests they entertain the guests with a friendly archery contest out in the back garden. And to make it interesting, a small bet to sweeten the deal. Out of nowhere, Jai jumps between them and says this really isn't the occasion for a competition, it's Lin Zai's birthday. Lin Jun ignores him and looks directly at Sean, asking with a slight smirk if he's backing down or if a simple game like this is somehow beneath him. The provocation lands exactly as intended. Sean accepts without overthinking it. He tells Lin Jun to set whatever conditions he wants, he'll agree to all of them. They move to the back garden where a red carpet leads straight to the archery range. Lin Jun explains the rules: a target 10 meters away, both of them blindfolded, 3 arrows each. Butler brings over the equipment for Lin Jun. He asks one final time if Sean has understood the rules properly. Sean doesn't answer. He quietly tests the tension in the bowstring instead. Then Lin Zai arrives and immediately clocks what's happening. Once she understands the situation, she pulls her cousin aside and warns him their uncle is going to hear about this. Lin Jun waves it off and says it's just a little excitement for her party. Then, in front of everyone, he announces the stakes. Whoever wins gets their gift opened first. Sean agrees to the terms without a second thought, which only makes Lin Zai more uneasy. For just a brief moment, she finds herself wondering if he agreed just to get her attention. Lin Jun steps up and takes the first shot. He draws with precise, practiced control. It releases on command. The crowd reacts as it lands near the center ring. He knocks the second arrow and Sean listens quietly as the referee announces a perfect bullseye. Nobody in the crowd doubts who's winning this. The girls nearby start fangirling over Lin Jun, while Linzai stands off to the side, visibly tense, hoping Sean knows what he's gotten himself into. Lin Jun turns to Sean with a satisfied expression and notes that he still has one arrow left. He makes it clear he has absolutely no intention of giving Sean any breathing room. To truly perform at your best is the only proper way to respect your opponent. He releases his final arrow, and it cuts cleanly through the night air toward the target. At that same moment, a shady figure slips up behind Linzai, who is still standing off to the side, distracted by worry. Without warning, the figure shoves her hard from behind. She stumbles forward, losing her footing, and before she can catch herself, she ends up standing directly in the path of an arrow flying straight at her. She cries out and the sound reaches Sean instantly. His ears, sharpened over years in the field, tell him immediately her voice came from the same direction as the target. Without hesitating, he grabs all 3 of his arrows and fires blind. In a desperate split-second move, his arrows intercept Lin Jun's third shot midair, snapping it apart before it reaches her. The crowd goes dead silent, then the shock hits all at once. Linzai stumbles and falls as the arrows pass by her, close enough to feel. She can't even explain how they missed at that distance. People rush toward her immediately, but she quickly tells everyone she isn't hurt. When Lin Jun removes his blindfold, he looks genuinely confused about why his cousin is on the ground in the middle of the range. Sean looks at him with clear disappointment and tells him he almost shot her just now. Lin Jun reacts with visible shock and asks where the arrow went if that's true. One of the servants points toward the target and calls everyone to look. All 3 of Sean's arrows are embedded in the center ring. Lin Jun goes completely quiet. He struggles to find words for what he's looking at. He compares it quietly to the 3 overlaps of Yongyuan, a technique from refined combat archery that most people have only ever read about. The man standing in front of him is not an amateur he can casually challenge at his own game. Still, something doesn't add up. The shove was never part of anything he planned. He has no idea why his cousin ended up in the arrow's path at all. At that moment, Sean spots the shady figure who pushed her, quietly slipping through the crowd like they were never there. He makes a quick announcement, requesting everyone to surround the person who just put the young lady's life at risk. The figure tries to run, but one of the guests manages to grab them by the collar. The man thrashes and shouts at everyone to let him go, claiming they have no idea who he works for. Sean walks up calmly and tells him he'd genuinely love to find out. He offers a simple choice: talk now and avoid a criminal record, or go through the police and deal with whatever comes after. The smarter option is obvious. The man seems to consider it for a moment. Then a slow, smug grin spreads across his face, the kind that says he thinks everyone around him is a fool. And he bites down. Sean recognizes it immediately from experience: poison hidden in the mouth for exactly this situation. Within seconds, the man begins choking, foam at his lips, and collapses. The crowd panics. People are shouting to call an ambulance, saying he might still be saved. Sean moves in close, trying to catch anything useful before it's too late. The dying man forces out one final message: friendly regards from his employer. From Yuchen, and then he's gone. Sean stands there quietly, trying to work out how his enemy managed to orchestrate a hit from inside a detention cell. Back in that cell, Yuchen laughs softly to himself, turning a small razor blade over in his fingers. A dry, humorless chuckle escapes him as he mocks his brother's stinginess. Couldn't even spring for proper poison, something clean like potassium chloride, typical. While the guard outside dozes on without a clue, Yuchen prepares to make his final exit from inside the cell. His mind drifts back to childhood, when he was just a small, already disturbed little boy crushing butterflies in the garden for fun. He remembered the genuine frustration he felt when some of them escaped him. When he couldn't crush them no matter how hard he tried, it made him question, even back then, whether he had what it took to one day stand at the top of the Chen family. His personal bodyguard was the one who told him not to think that way. The man told him not to be so quick to judge himself. But little Yuchen just repeated what the family had always told him, that trash like him had no place there to begin with. His bodyguard's response was simple: you can achieve anything if you're truly willing to put your life on the line for it. Those words stuck. He came to believe that he never got real results because he never genuinely risked everything before. In the darkness of his thoughts, he screams at an imaginary version of Sean, asking the so-called genius to explain exactly where he went wrong. But the imaginary figure just stares back at him in silence. And the angrier he gets, the quieter it stays. Then his thoughts shift to his family, who discarded him exactly the way they always said they would, like trash. And then gave him one final arrangement to avoid rotting in a cell for the rest of his life. Part of him wants to take the lifeline, but instead he picks up the razor blade and chooses a different kind of exit. With every drop he loses, his body gets colder, heavier. Right before the end, his expression settles into something close to satisfaction. He genuinely believes he'll meet Sean again somewhere on the other side and that he'll have the last laugh there. The delusion holds right up until the very end, a few hours later. Director Dong coughs loudly, trying to wake the guard stationed outside Yuchin's cell. The guard makes excuses, says his ears are sharp enough to catch anything unusual. He jokes that the kid must have a thing about cleanliness since he's been running the sink for a while now. Something about that doesn't sit right with the director. Then the guard looks down and notices something wet beneath his superior's shoes. His face drains of color when he realizes the dark, red pooling on the floor looks exactly like blood. He starts panicking, completely at a loss for how blood ended up out here without him noticing anything. When he turns around, he understands far too late where it came from. Director Dong immediately starts laying into him for assuming everything was fine. He panics, knowing full well that the Chen family's legal team is already en route to check on their man. The two of them rush to get the door open and move inside. Their faces fall the moment they see Yuchin's cold body on the ground surrounded by a pool of blood. They shout his name, trying for a response, still half hoping against all reason that he might somehow respond. The guard spots the tiny blade and rushes over to check for a pulse. After a moment, he lowers his head. He tells the director quietly he's already gone. And in that moment, Director Dong understands the legal team on their way isn't coming to protect Yuchin anymore. Their job now is to clean up what he left behind. Without wasting a second, Director Dong orders the guard to open an internal investigation immediately. He wants every person who had any contact with Yuchin or even came close to him accounted for. After the guard leaves, the director stands alone with a rare, quiet sense of unease, thinking about how easily this family disposed of their own blood, cut him loose without hesitation. If you're this deep into the story, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to keep Shan's revenge coming right to your feed. Back at the birthday party, Lin Jun walks over with 2 drinks and asks Sean if they can talk privately. He admits he may have misjudged the situation earlier, but that still doesn't explain the sharp looks he's been getting from Sean for the past hour. Sean, looking thoroughly unimpressed, tells him that's just how his face is, and if he has something to say, he should just say it.